I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering. Negativity is a plague for the mentally weak. No mercy, all I got is working. Never stop searching, never quench the thirsty. I'm toxic and psychotic with this logic, you can't stop it. It's been chronic since I was a boy, so neurotic and chaotic. I'm built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the cast, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas. No, never stop competing, yeah. I've been doing this, I'm on it. I just wanna be iconic. Sipping on a gin and tonic, got me going off when I'm on this topic, yeah. If I ever play, I want it. You know that I'm always honest. Stay away from those who are toxic. Keep them out your face, no way, you don't want it, yeah. Don't try to drain my energy. The enemy is everything. It's mentally, unhealthily, spreading like a rare disease. But I won't let it get to me. I don't need your therapy. I can leave a legacy of leading by intensity. Come on, we can fight this. Freedom is priceless. Spread just like a virus. Living in a crisis. Do you feel courageous? Do you seek greatness? Trust me, you can take it. Go on and take your aim. Yeah. I'm built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the cast, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas. No, never stop competing, yeah. Ain't no truth on the radio station. Somebody owes me an explanation. Well, I get knocked down, I get back up.
The Sportsocracy.
And I'm unapologetic.
What up? Sorry for the delay. YouTube apparently decided I really needed to be verified this morning. So sorry we are running about 9 minutes late. It will not change the mock draft in any discernible way. If you don't know who I am at the NFL Draft Nerd Jeremy Green of ESPN Radio, the Sportsocracy, NFLDraft.net, and all the other random shit that I do. But the NFL Draft is my jam. We are into the draft season. We are shooting this live, so you will hear questions from the chat. If you have questions watching this back later, you can throw them in the comments. I answer all of those. The 256 big board is done. I finished that about 2:45 this morning. There is not going to be a lot of movement from there. I don't change things a tremendous amount from the combine. The underwear Olympics don't do a ton for me. So I'm not one of those that really... I'm not going to say I don't put anything into the combine because that just wouldn't be true. But at the same time, it doesn't change things to a tremendous point for me. So you're not going to see guys make some outrageous movement. I go off the tape. The tape is what matters the most to me. The tape is where I will always fall back. And that's where I'm at. I feel very good about what Bill. First of all, I got to thank Bill Workman for all the work that he has done to make this possible. Because without him, it would not be. So, with that being said, as soon as I can get the damn simulator to accept all cookies, I got your cookies. Your cookies are fine. We'll get started. Number one, obviously, Las Vegas Raiders. We all know that, and we all know who this pick is. This is the worst quarterback class I've ever evaluated in my life. It's not even particularly close. So for me, I'm going to think about this as much as I think the Raiders are going to think about it. That pick on April the 23rd will be Fernando Mendoza, quarterback out of Indiana. There's not much there that could change this, because this is the number one class I've ever seen where we don't have a second quarterback. It is Fernando Mendoza 100 times out of 100. Now, I'm not going to lie. I've had people already that have asked me, well, why are you not completely bought into Fernando? I've been over that. I've said that I think he will be a good quarterback in this league. I think he will be very similar to Kirk Cousins. I'm not dead sold that he's going to be. I hate saying special, because I feel like people hear special one way, no matter how it was meant. I don't think Fernando Mendoza would have been the number one pick in last year's draft. I don't think Fernando Mendoza would have been the first pick in many drafts, because I just don't think there's a whole lot of room to grow for him. I am in like with him. I am not in love with him. And I don't think it's untoward to say that. This is a kid that I don't know why that's not signed into my PFF, but whatever. It's fine. I don't think this kid is special, but I think he will definitely be a solid starter in this league for a long time. He's walking into a tough situation with the Raiders, but that's okay. That's what happens to number one picks, and really good ones persevere. So number one pick is Fernando Mendoza. In the YouTube chat, I saw, and I'm trying to find it. I think it was Red Sea that said the draft starts at 2 this year. Or no, it's Andreas Pinkney. The draft starts at 2. Now, this is where things get a little wooski for me compared to others, because I don't see Arvell Reese the same way a lot of other people do. I think he's good. I think he will be fine. I also think he's best served as an off-ball linebacker. The last time we drafted an off-ball linebacker this high, it was LeVar Arrington. And we haven't done it again, and there's a reason we haven't done it again. I also don't think edge rusher is the biggest need for the New York Jets. So for me, I fall into who is the best player on the board. And that best player on the board for me is Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State. I genuinely think this kid might be one of the most special players that I've ever personally evaluated, solely because I don't see any form of miss. I don't see a way that this kid's not going to be an absolute dog. I've said this before. I think his low side is Rod Woodson. His high side could be Troy Polamalu. I mean, that's how good I think this kid can actually be. And the further down the rabbit hole we go in the process, the more I think Caleb Downs is going to. Caleb Downs will be the one where we buck the trend, the Kyle Hamilton trend. We've done this with a handful of other safeties over the years, that we look at safety and go, nah, this is just not that important of a position. It's not a premier position. Well, here's the thing. This year, many of the guys that are going to go high in this class are not playing a premium position. Arvell Reese does not play a premium position. People will say, oh, he's a pass rusher. He kind of is. He kind of is, and he's kind of not. And why I say that is I think if you go into this drafting Arvell Reese at 2 under the assumption that he's just going to be a dedicated pass rusher, I think you're going to be seriously disappointed. Because that's just not who I think he is. Right now, he wins with speed and athleticism and very little else. I don't think he even really knows what he's doing. I'm not sure he even knows how good he can be. And it's hard for me to draft that at 2. So if I'm the Jets, I got to add good players. I am not looking for a quarterback in this class. I wound up at 2. There's nothing that I can do about that. There's not going to be a quarterback here for you. I don't like the idea of taking Ty Simpson at 16. I just don't think it's a good idea. So as I go down this rabbit hole with the New York Jets, I just keep coming back to the same thing, which is I'm going to take Caleb Downs at number 2. I think I have finally figured out what's wrong with my PFF. So we have missed the first 2 picks of seeing their player cards and things like that, but they're on the board, and we are to the Arizona Cardinals. Breaking news, the Jets are hiring Frank Reich as their OC. Woo! That, for me, that changes nothing in terms of the pick. It's just something to know. We're to number 3 with the Arizona Cardinals. And Arizona's a tough team for me because I think your biggest needs there are guys on the board that fill your biggest needs. I mean, I would be tempted to take Jeremiah Love at 3. I'm not going to, but I would be tempted to do that. I would be tempted to take who for me is the second best player in the class. I'm not going to do it because I feel like the thing Arizona has to have, I've been very consistent with this throughout the entire process, they have to have an offensive lineman. And for me, I have this kid way higher than everybody else in the industry does. It's Francis Maui-Noa. I get it. His pass block grade is higher. Virtually everything he does is better as a pass blocker than it is as a run blocker. If you look at the biggest games that he played, it was pretty consistent that this guy was the best offensive lineman on the field, and very often he was the best player on the field. I get it. It's too high at 3. I understand that. In the chat, I already see people saying, give me Reuben Bain at 3. I'll tell you this. The industry is not as sold on Reuben Bain as the rest of us are. They're not because they don't know where he plays. So I look at Arizona. I'll also tell you this. Offensive line is nowhere near as deep as edge rusher. So if I'm Arizona and I'm looking down the rabbit hole of what can I get at a later time, pass rusher would be that. I mean, hell, look how many we had that just basically jumped up and down and announced their presence at the Senior Bowl. Nadeem Tucker was a guy that I think very few people were talking about. And yet, here he is. I think he will go higher than people think. Francis Maui-Noa is one of the only franchise players in this class. I also know there's damn near no missing him. He's going to come in, and he's going to produce right away. That takes us to number 4 with the Tennessee Titans, and I'm not going to lie, Tennessee needs a little bit of everything. I'm not going to be mad at virtually anything that I'm not going to be mad at virtually anything the Titans do so long as they don't go way off the board. Full Slate Farms said he's been talking about Nadeem Tucker since October. I was late to the party, and I'll admit that. However, he did share my All-Senior Bowl team. So thank you, Nadeem, for that. That only makes me like you more. Your tape made me like you. The love made me love you. I think he's a great player. Tennessee here at 4. There are a couple ways to go. They could go off the board with Bain. I will be shocked if they do that. Now that Robert Saleh is the head coach of this team, I got to see this firsthand of how he treats edge rushers, what he looks at, and I just can't get past the thought that he's going to take Arvell Reese. And here's why I say that. In his defense, there's no real fail for Arvell Reese. Because he's probably going to try to play him some with his hand in the dirt in that wide 9 that he plays. Think Will McDonald with the Jets. And he will try to use the fact that this kid's a really good pass rusher and is really hyper athletic. And I think he's quickly going to figure out this kid's not a down pass rusher. This kid's not a 3-4 edge rusher. He can be one of the best linebackers in this league, one of the best off-ball linebackers in this league. But that's what he is. Now, he's a hyper version of that with Micah Parsons' traits. But that's at the end of the day what he is. So there's only going to be certain teams that look at him and go, yeah, let's do that. Because it is hard to draft a guy that high that's the position he plays. With Tennessee, I got to get talent. I got to get somebody with some pass rush chops. And that's exactly what they do at 4. New York Giants at 5. That coaching staff makes me really question whether I'm right here. If there was another offensive lineman that I felt even half-assed about them taking at 5, that's where I'd go. I looked at Spencer Fano. I thought about it. I thought about Vega Ione. It's too high for both of them. John Harbaugh and his time with the Ravens, I don't know how much of it was Harbaugh. I don't know how much of it was the Ravens front office. They've got to have another weapon, especially if they're unable to bring back Wan'Dale Robinson. This is also a good time to specify this whole mock draft is done under the assumption that no one signs anyone. If they're a free agent, they don't come back to you, and nobody else re-signs them. It's just too hard to project on February 4th where guys are going to go a month and a half from now. So in this exercise, basically the New York Giants have Malik Neighbors coming off an ACL and nobody else. Which leads me to their pick at 5. You've got to add a weapon. I think the one that makes the most sense is Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State. This kid is very seamless when you watch him on tape. He's a good route runner. He just kind of falls in line with a lot of other Ohio State guys. He's big-bodied, 6'3", $195. He had no drops in the year of 2025, which is insane. His contested catch rate was high. And you watch his film, and there is just not a lot to ding this kid on. Am I telling you he's ever going to be the best receiver in the league? No, because he's not. But he's big-bodied. He's a seamless hands catcher of the football. And he's going to be the 2 for the New York Giants. This allows them to move Malik Neighbors around anywhere that they want to. And I think opens this team up to do a lot of things. So here at 5, the New York Giants go Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Now we get to 6, and I'm not going to lie to you, 6 is where it really starts to get, okay, what do you do here? I'm tempted to go Reuben Bain. I'm also tempted to do a few things. I'm tempted to go get an elite receiver. The problem is that the ones I've got left are Jordan Tyson, who has a really high medical history, and Mekhi Lemon, who's 5'11". I think it's too high for them. So the question is, how can I attack a need while also getting a player that will start right away? For Cleveland, I consider Spencer Fano, Spencer Fano. I considered him here as well. I think this is too high. They need an offensive lineman really, really badly. And I get that. I really do. I get it that you need a lineman really badly. So for me, I have Fano at 9. The guys that are up here, Downs was my 1. Jeremiah Love is my 2. Francis Mauigoa is my 3. Love's still on the board, but I've already got a running back. So the question is, do I go to my board and take the best player on my board and pair Reuben Bain with Myles Garrett, which could be terrifying, especially as a team that's looking at my offense going, I'm going to have to beat people defensively. Or do I reach a little bit and take Spencer Fano? In the chat, I would love to hear people's opinions on which one would you do if you were the Cleveland Browns. I know which one I'm going to do because I've done this so many times that I know how it tends to go. I can get an offensive lineman with that second pick in the first round and be okay. The Giants don't have that luxury. They don't pick until, I don't remember what pick they have in the second round. That allows me to bypass Spencer Fano. Go, I think he's a right tackle anyway. And I'm fine with that. Andreas Pinckney said he'd go O-line. Red Sea said, of the choices, I'd just make my defense evil. Putting in work said Bain and Garrett would be a scary combo because you can't double team them both. I agree with you. And that's why at 6, I'm going Reuben Bain, edge rusher out of Miami. I love hearing people analyze Reuben Bain because it tells me how much they know about this kid. I get it. His body is not exactly indicative of who he is as a player. But you watch him on tape and he just wins. Over and over and over and over and over again, he just wins. He did dovetail off a little bit towards the end of the season. He was still one of the best players on the field. He just wasn't the insane freak of nature that he had been at the start of the season. I'm going to go Reuben Bain Jr. here, edge rusher out of Miami. I now have paired Myles Garrett with Reuben Bain, and my pass rush is evil. Washington here at pick 7. This is a team I know pretty well, and they're in a decent shape here because 2 of the guys that I would be targeting are here. It's a question of do I prioritize the value of the player, or do I prioritize the position that I really need? I am super tempted to take Jeremiah Love here. I'm not going to, but I'm super tempted to do it. I'm going to go David Bailey, edge rusher out of Texas Tech. I think he is more of an all-around player than people are giving him credit for, and he is a freak of nature when it comes to rushing the passer. The other thing about David Bailey is he's not scheme specific. When you look at his body type at 6'3", 250 pounds, I believe he can play with his hand up. He can play with his hand down. It doesn't matter what this defense looks like, and this gives you the legit on-time big boy pass rusher for Washington. The fact that I only pick at 71 after this tells me I got to nail this. You also got to remember this is a team that was in the NFC Championship game a year ago. Then they had injury issues with their quarterback. So I'm going David Bailey. Final Anthony with a really good point. Free agency will determine what would happen if these things came up. So, in my opinion, this is what's happening in NFL rooms right now. They're going through this process thinking for other teams. Going, what do I have to attack in free agency because I'm not going to get it in my position in the draft? As we go through this, after we do this exercise, I will do 5 to 7 minute videos on every team in the NFL, looking at what they got and looking at where things could have gone differently. Washington will be pretty easy because I'll take Jeremiah Love right here. I'll find an edge rusher in free agency, and then at 71, I'll take the best player on the board. New Orleans Saints are on the board at 8. This one is harder than you would think because there are a handful of guys that I look at. I'm intrigued by Peter Woods. I'm intrigued by the idea of adding Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson. I don't think any of those guys are great fits. And I really want to prop up my young quarterback, and the best damn player on the board still here. It's Jeremiah Love. I get it. You have Alvin Kamara. He's an older guy. It's an older guy. I get to add an absolute game breaker at 8 for nothing. All I have to do is take the card up and say his name. And we're good. Jeremiah Love, to me, is what you were sold that Ashton Jeanty was. And if I'm New Orleans, I can't bypass that at 8. I have to add pieces to my offense. I don't feel like there is a seamless transition with any of these receivers. Lemon, because he plays specifically in the slot. Olave plays a lot in the slot. Olave is more of a deep threat. I do like Lemon in that he's kind of a satellite player, which is what I'm trying to pair with Olave. I just can't do it at 8. 8's too high. Bob Brown has a really good point, too. Jeremiah Love could extend Alvin Kamara's career. And now I got both of them for a year, maybe 2. I thought about this longer than I should have, and I don't actually think it's that tough of a decision. Number 8, Jeremiah Love to the New Orleans Saints. Kansas City Chiefs come up at 9. And now this is tough for me. Because as I look at my board, just up and down it, there's not a guy that really fits this position in that the value is there for where I'm picking. My top 5 guys on the board are all gone. My 8 is gone. The number 1 quarterback on the board is gone. The number 1 wide receiver is gone. And so for me, this really falls into about 3 paths. Do I reach for Peter Woods to pair him with Chris Jones? Well, if I go to my board and look at the defensive tackles available in this class, there are a lot of guys that I could still pair with Chris Jones. It's possible that I get Caleb Banks later than people think. Because you got to remember, I understand how good he was at the Senior Bowl. Just remember, the medical's not going to pass for every team. I could wind up with Caden McDonald in the second round. I could end up with, and at this point, I'm just reading names. I could end up with Dominique Orange. I could end up with Kristen Miller. There are a lot of guys that I can add to the interior of this defensive line. So for me, it gets to how do I prop up Pat Mahomes? Because I'm in a position that I'm never going to be in. So I think I have to take a shot. Mike Baker has a really good point, and I'm glad you said that when you did. You almost have to go Fano to solidify the right tackle spot. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. I think there are a handful of offensive linemen in this draft that are good starters that you can get in day 2. I do not think Kansas City gets the opportunity to draft a game breaker probably for the rest of Pat Mahomes' career. As you look at that Kansas City offense, and I'm using PFF grades, it's just the best analytical tool that I have. I got Rashee Rice in the slot. I feel pretty good about Rashee Rice. I don't think Travis Kelce's coming back. I've thought that since the end of the season. I don't really have other weapons that make me feel hunky-dunky. Joshua Pennick said I'd go wide receiver. I wouldn't blame you if you went wide receiver. The only problem is that I got Jordan Tyson that's an injury risk. I already have one of those. And I got Mekhi Lemon who plays out of the slot. Rashee Rice plays almost exclusively out of the slot. So I'm going to take a player that I think is a freak of nature and plays a position that I know helps this offense run. It's Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon. Yes, I know PFF has him at 24. I don't. He's way higher than that to me. Kid's an athletic freak of nature. I think he can be, if Kelce comes back, even better. I'm going to play a lot of 2 tight end sets. I'm going to have those fast-ass receivers that I have on the outside playing 2 wide receiver, 2 tight end, 1 running back sets. I just think Kenyon Sadiq's too good to pass up here. I also think he's clearly the best tight end in this class. And I get it. If Kelce comes back, that's not their biggest need. You got to take the guy that you're not going to have the opportunity to pick again because you're not picking at 9 very often. So at 9, I go Kenyon Sadiq to the Kansas City Chiefs. And here I really feel like Cincinnati would look like Randy Marsh in South Park with their balls in a wheelbarrow, just going, yeah, this went as well as it could have gone. The number 1 corner on the board is there. The number 2 corner on the board is there. Peter Woods is there. Spencer Fano's there. I have the opportunity to do whatever I want to. Cincinnati is intriguing to me because there's a lot of smoke around Joe Burrow. That's coming from somewhere. I'll be damned if I can tell you where it is because I don't know. If Francis Maui Noah was here, I would do it in a heartbeat. He's not. I think it's too early to take Vega Ione. I think you have to go get a dog. The secondary got slightly better as the season went on. And I think your biggest problem is that you have just missed time after time after time after time drafting guys that are going to rush a passer. Now, I believe they have to at least attempt to re-sign Trey Hendrickson. I don't think it's going to work. There's not really a true dedicated edge rusher that I feel great about here. Cassius Howell, I'm not doing it personally. Keldrick Falk, I don't think fits the scheme. So for me, I'm going Peter Woods, defensive tackle out of Clemson. I get it. This past season was not as good. Go back to the previous 2 years' tape. I will tell you, I have a really good source inside of Clemson. I'm not worried at all about Peter Woods. I'm quite worried about TJ Parker. Calvin said, I still say McDonald's better than Woods, but that's just me. Calvin, if you're looking for a run stuffer, I don't disagree with you. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to have to find somebody that can get interior push. Caden McDonald does virtually nothing for you there. I think he's a great player, and I have him in the top 35 overall. I just can't do that when I'm looking for somebody that's going to move a pocket. I think Peter Woods' high side is Quinnen Williams. What percentage of the time does he hit that? Probably 25. Putting him in Cincinnati probably takes that down to 20. But if that chance is there, I have to take it. So we go Peter Woods here at number 10. Miami on the board at 11. My guy, Jeff Hafley. I don't think this would take all that long. It's Mansour Delane. Your secondary was freaking awful last year. Mansour Delane is the most multiple corner in this class. He can do anything you ask him to do. If you want him to play in the slot, he can do that. If you want him to play on the outside, he can do that. He can play zone. He can play man. I do not give a damn what scheme the Miami Dolphins play. Mansour Delane fits. I don't mean to just glean past it, but I've already talked about this because this is the guy I've given to them in both mock drafts I've done. Number 11, Miami Dolphins, Mansour Delane. I'm going to take a swig of my Monster here because talking to yourself gets a little difficult. Number 12, Dallas Cowboys. I don't think this one would take a great long time either. Dallas needs playmakers on defense. The offense is fine, especially if they re-sign George Pickens, which in my head they're going to. I know that's not part of this. I'm well aware of that. I don't think George Pickens ever makes it there because I think they're going to franchise him. So for me, adding Sonny Styles here is just too damn easy. Converted safety that's come down to play linebacker. He's still figuring out what Sonny Styles at this point doesn't even know what he doesn't know about playing linebacker. So I get him in Dallas, and maybe I'm being too hyperbolic about this. I look at Sonny Styles and just go, that dude's going to be real popular in Dallas. I think he could be the next face of the defense in Dallas. And I just really like the fit. He was who I had in the first mock draft of Dallas. He's who I have here just because it makes too much damn sense. Styles can be a special player. He can also get you fired because he does have a touch of Isaiah Simmons. I haven't seen him do it as much. I think he needs to bulk up a little bit to play linebacker because he is really thin. But he's a very talented player. Sonny Styles at number 12 to the Dallas Cowboys. Los Angeles Rams here at 13, pick they got in the trade last year with the Atlanta Falcons. There are a couple paths I could go here, but they all seemingly lead me back to the same place, which is I'm going to take a guy for my defense, or I'm going to be the team that stops the quote-unquote slide of Spencer Fano. In the chat, I would love to hear which one do you think would be better for the Los Angeles Rams. I've already mentally figured out which side I'm going to go on this, but I'm curious if the chat is with me on this. If you're the Rams here at 13, do you go defensive piece or do you take the tackle? I'll wait a second for a couple answers to come in there. I'm also putting all of my picks on my side of this to keep track of what I'm doing. Okay, in the chat, McCoy or Fano from Putting in Work with Bill Workman. He said McCoy personally. Keldrick Falk from Gary Birch. I like that one as a that's one you're not going to see in a lot of mocks, but I think he fits this defense unbelievably well. Andreas Pinkney said Fano if Stafford stays. David L. and Joshua Penix said McCoy. Glenn F., you got to stop the run. Gary Birch, look at the division. Bob Brown said an older quarterback will love an athletic offensive lineman to protect them. Calvin said take the tackle. Final Anthony said Fano. And Red C said, I think the Rams take a kicker here for no particular reason. It feels like the chat's in lockstep with me of I've got to do everything in my power to prolong the career of Matthew Stafford. Rob Havenstein is 34 or will be 34 before the start of next year. He was okay, but not great. I have to make use of a pick that I'm not very often going to have here. I think down the line, Fano can play on the left side if he's asked to. Here he's not asked to play there right away. I'm going to prolong the career of Matthew Stafford and take a tackle that can come in and play right away. Spencer Fano, offensive tackle out of Utah. This kid's played one snap at left tackle in 2 years, which is funny to me because he started at left tackle. Plus run blocker, plus pass blocker. There's really not a lot of negative. He's just a little rawer than you would want him to be. I don't think he would be the 13th pick in a lot of years. I think in some years he would have been the number one tackle off the board. I think there will be teams that have him as the number one tackle off the board because they see him as more projectionable to the left than they see Francis Maui-Noah. Rams get a protector for Matthew Stafford at 13 with Spencer Fano. Now we get to the team that pisses everybody off every single year when they get on the board because they take that guy that you've been hoping is going to fall in the lap of your team. I know Anthony Weaver reasonably well. I have a pretty good idea of what that defense is going to look like. I also know that they invested in Mike Green last year. Tavius Robinson was a 4th-round pick, I think. I think they will probably try to add something else to that pass rush. But between Nnamdi Madubuike and Travis Jones, I see a potential to be absolutely freakish if you draft one guy. And his name is Keldrick Falk. This dude has the potential to be an absolute monster. Right now, he's been playing a little out of position, having to play outside the tackle, which is not what he does. Because, and if I can get this to go, he's 285 pounds. Keldrick Falk's upside is unfreaking believable. And he's just the kind of player that Baltimore takes of, the rest of you don't want to take the risk because he plays a position that's not that valuable or you haven't seen enough. Well, we have. And this gives you a front three in that three-man front that is absolutely going to open up Mike Green. It's absolutely going to open up your linebackers, whether it's Teddy Buchanan or Roquan Smith. This is one of my favorite pairings of player to team. Keldrick Falk to the Baltimore Ravens. Tampa Bay has said shit a lot because you took Keldrick Falk in front of them. I don't think this Tampa Bay team is very good. I haven't thought they were very good for a long time. One of the reasons that I haven't thought they're very good is because the pass rush is very mediocre. If you look at the board right here, there are not a ton of guys that I think come in right away and really crank up the pass rush. I'm intrigued by Cassius Howell. I'm intrigued to a point by TJ Parker. I really would like to trade down and just take a freaking linebacker because I think C.J. Allen would fit this team quite nicely. Kenyon Sadiq is not here. But I'm going to be a little selfish here. I get it. I need to add a pass rusher. It's too high for Cassius Howell for me. Where I fall in is I don't think your secondary is good enough. Oh, Jamel Dean, he was the 5th highest rated corner in the league. Wasn't thrown on a ton because the other side was a liability. And I've had a guy fall right in my lap that probably shouldn't still be here. I'm going to go Jermod McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee. He did not play in 2025, sorry. He didn't play at all in 2025. Coming off an ACL, he just didn't play. If you go back to the previous year, this kid was an absolute stud. If you go back to the Tennessee tape and try to figure out what changed was Jermod McCoy was not there. And so now you get this kid at 15. And I think that solidifies your secondary. Now you can throw some darts at pass rush. They've also got a kid, Walker, that they took last year that coming off an injury, but I think he can be a piece this year. Number 15, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jermod McCoy. 16, my New York Jets. I'm going to go ahead and tell you they would not think about this for a real long time. It's Mekhi Lemon. I get it. He plays out of the slot. So does Garrett Wilson. I don't really care because they can both play on the outside. This gives you a weapon. I know somebody's going to say, but will they take Ty Simpson there? Oh, would in the chat, take a guess at where I have Ty Simpson in my ranks. I'm just curious, the first person that gets close to the actual number. Gary Birch has him in the 4th round. Bill Workman said 189. That's too low. Now, Snap Judgment's at 78. Bob Brown, I'm going to say you're the first one that got close enough for me. Oh, damn. And then there were 2 right behind you that were close as shit, too. Alex S. said 89. David L. said 95. Glenn F. said 106. Joshua Pennick said 104. You danced right around 99, which is where I have him. And then Chad Reagan, as I was saying it, hit 98. God, y'all know me real well. The only reason I have Ty Simpson at 99 is because I submit my top 100 to the draft contest, and I know Ty Simpson's going in the top 100. If it was not for that, I'd have him in the 150s. Because I just don't think he's a very good quarterback. I don't think there's a lot there. I think teams figured him out. I don't think the Jets are taking a quarterback. They might take a shot later, but I would be shocked. I think they sit back with 3 first-round picks next year and go, we can get our guy next year. So here, I'm going to go get Mekhi Lemon. That'll give me Garrett Wilson. That'll give me Lemon. That will give me Mason Taylor and hopefully Breece Hall with a pretty good offensive line, which can prop up a veteran quarterback for a year. And eventually, you'll cede it to the guy you draft next year with one of those 3 first-round picks. Detroit Lions on the board here at 17. I really want an offensive lineman. Really badly. The question is, which one? If you're looking at my board, the highest rated lineman on my board is Vega Aoni, who I've got at 18. And I'm not saying I'm not going to take Aoni. This is the first pick we've had that I'm really sounding it out as I'm going. Because I'm not 100% sure what I want to do here. There is part of me that looks at Emmanuel Pregnon and goes, yeah, he's played center. He's played center. I think he can be a really good center. There's also part of me looking at Penei Sewell going, is it time to move him to the left? Because I kind of think it is. I kind of think it's time to move him to the left. Gary Birch is killing where my brain is at. I don't know if you're reading my thoughts, but you seem to know where I'm headed before I ever say anything. I'm very fond of Vega Aoni. He is a guard. He's a guard. He's a guard. He's a guard. I need somebody that can be a little bit more multiple. I always have the option to move Penei Sewell over to the left if Decker doesn't come back, which I don't know. Detroit fan man swears to me he's not coming back. Okay, so I'll go with you. You know your team better than I do. I will say we move Sewell over to the left, and we get my illegitimate child, Jennings Dunker. Yes, I know how low PFF has him. I don't care. God, Trev, buddy, we got to get Jennings up where he belongs. Dunker's been one of their top 20 highest rated offensive linemen 2 years in a row. He told us at the Senior Bowl, I'll play wherever they ask me to play. I don't give a shit. He worked at guard. He worked at tackle. I thought he was one of the best players on the field in Mobile. And I think with Dunker, and he also has that Dan Campbell disposition. Snap Judgment said that's funny because Trevor's been driving the Dunker hype train all year long. I know. Trevor's one of my best friends in this industry. I don't know why he's so low on the rank. I just think he hadn't updated it, which is understandable. There's been a lot to do here lately. Gary Birch said he worked a tad at center. He told us I'll play wherever they want me to play. So I'm going to take the multiple kid. And so here at pick 17, we go Jennings Dunker, offensive tackle, Iowa. We're to 18 on the board for the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota is an annoying team to me because I don't really know. I don't know how the board lines up for what you need because I'm just giving you my list of needs for Minnesota. They need a running back. There's not one here. They need some help on the interior of the offensive line. There's a little bit here. They need a safety. There is a safety here. I've seen Emmanuel McNeil-Warren mocked to the Vikings numerous times. Here at 18, I just think it's too high. I can't go that far off my board. And look, I like McNeil-Warren. I have him actively. He's my 33. That's going really far off the board for me. And I don't think I can do that. So the question is, do you look at a falling player that plays a position that's maybe not the biggest position of need to prop up your young quarterback? I feel like everybody in Minnesota is currently beholden to, we got to find somebody that makes this work. Do we take a corner? In the chat, if you're Minnesota, what do you do right here? I'm just curious how long it'll take before somebody says what I'm actually going to do. Alex S. said, this is Banks with a bullet. He is definitely in the consideration for me. Gary Burt said, Denzel Boston to balance Jay Jettas. I don't disagree with that one either. I do like the idea of adding another playmaker solely because you see when Addison wasn't on the – I forgot the super chat thing was a thing, and I almost shit in my pants. JW, we appreciate you subscribing. I remember now that is a thing, and it won't scare the shit out of me every time it happens from here on out. Thank you, JW. Putting in work said, that just rattled my office. It scared the piss out of me. I'm seriously considering going wide receiver because I think propping up JJ is what they have to do. And Andreas Pinckney's the one that got there. I think you have to consider Jordan Tyson here. I really do. I think you have to consider taking a guy that is just a special receiver, because Tyson is. If there wasn't such an issue of his injury history, he wouldn't still be here. But now I can add Tyson to this team. He plays predominantly on the outside. He can also play out of the slot. So this is now I've got Justin Jefferson, I got Jordan Addison, I got Jordan Tyson. I really like that, and that's where I'm going for the Minnesota Vikings. Jordan Tyson here at 18, wide receiver out of Arizona State.
Wow.
The Carolina Panthers are on the board here at 19. The hometown team, just so happens to be one that I know quite well. I look at Carolina with, Aquanu went down in the playoffs. That worries me. Robert Hunt was hurt last year. That worries me. I seriously considered going Vega Ione here. I'm not going to, because there's another position where there's a guy on the board that I just so happen to like better. I went Caden McDonald the first time we did this. Well, there's one that I like better on the board to play the same position. And I love the idea of pairing Caleb Banks and Derek Brown. Look, Banks only played 3 games this past year. One of the biggest questions I had was the medical. So now that I've seen him at the Senior Bowl, he looks really good. You pair him with Derek Brown, that's a lot of beef. 330 pounds of Caleb Banks. I think Derek Brown's in at about 316. That's a lot of beef on your front. They really wanted Milton Williams a year ago, and that tells me that Dan Morgan's targeting a guy just like this. So here at 19, I will go Caleb Banks to add to that front 7. Andreas Pinckney said Carolina needs another weapon. I agree with that. Alex said the Panthers would trade up for Tyson. I don't think anybody's trading up for Tyson, because I'm telling you that medical's going to be dicey. Calvin said, damn you, Carolina. Damn you. And Andreas Pinckney said, as a Saints fan, I don't like that pick at all, Jeremy, which tells me that I probably got it right. We're on to 20 with the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys have already selected Sonny Styles. This is their only other pick in this process, which is freaking hilarious to me. They have 2 picks in the top 20, and they don't pick again in the top 100. I feel like Dallas is going to take a swing. The question is, what position do you take the swing at? As I'm looking at my personal board, I have a couple pass rushers, I have a couple corners, I have a couple receivers. The biggest needs I have for the Dallas Cowboys, I already dealt with one in linebacker with Sonny Styles. There's not a running back that I can add here. I think it's too early for any of the safeties. So I'm going to take an edge rusher here. The question is, which one? Do I take the hometown kid in Cassius Howell that I know is going to come in here and be really productive as a pass rusher right away, but he's kind of a hat on a hat with Donovan Ezraku that you took last year? Or do I swing for the fences and take the guy that may ultimately be the best pass rusher out of this class? I don't love this kid. I've been very open about that, and I have very specific reasons as to why I don't love this kid. But there does come a time where you have to go, I got to take a swing. And Dallas, I don't have another pick for, it's 80 some odd or 90 some odd picks. I'm going to go TJ Parker, edge rusher out of Clemson. This kid was a consensus top 5 pick going into the season. It just didn't go well this year. I thought his effort was lackadaisical, but the talent is still there. I disagreed with everybody that he was one of the winners of the Senior Bowl. No, I think he showed that he has that talent that's going to get him drafted probably in this range. He's also got some lazy in his ass. And I saw that too. But if I'm Dallas, I have to hope that getting him to America's team and possibly he and Styles being the future faces of this defense is enough to get the best out of him. And who knows? Maybe the fact that a lot of people have talked about this is going to be enough to get it out of him. Maybe he just didn't like the defensive coordinator. I don't know. But I know the talent is there. So with Dallas here at 20, I'm going to take the swing. TJ Parker, Clemson Tigers. We are to 21 with I moved away from that. With the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, I know 100% people are going to say, you have to take Ty Simpson here. No, I don't. I don't have to take Ty Simpson here. I think you're going to get I really think you're going to get Aaron Rodgers back. I also don't think you have to take Ty Simpson here. So the question is, if I take Ty Simpson off the board, who are the players here that fill a need for the Pittsburgh Steelers? So Pittsburgh's biggest needs for me are obviously quarterback. They got to have somebody else in the back half. I mean, I need a corner, somebody that can make a stop. I just don't feel great about taking any of the corners here. So I'm looking wide receiver. Is there a wide receiver here that I feel really, really good about? And I see it now in the chat. 3 of you nailed it. It's Denzel Boston. This is one of those that I think he's a perfect fit in New England, but I don't think he's going to get there. Because I look at his fit in Pittsburgh as the big-bodied receiver. Now I've got him and DK on the outside, I believe, with Aaron Rodgers throwing to him. That's 2 big-bodied guys on the outside, and I'm not as beholden to DK as I was last year. I loved Denzel Boston. I know he played at a smaller school, and when I say smaller school, one that a lot of you did not watch. That pushes him down a little bit, but it doesn't in NFL circles. They've seen him. Randy, one of our resident New England Patriots fans that loves the idea of Denzel Boston going to New England, said New England will have to trade up for Boston, which I kind of like the potential of that happening. Dallas, before them, like you said, needs later picks. That is interesting. There are no trades in this. I don't know if I said that off the rip, but there are no trades in this. I don't do trades until after the combine. New England trading up with Dallas here to get Dallas a couple picks in day 2 would be interesting. Because it's possible that Dallas could move down and still get TJ Parker. If they don't, you can still get Cassius Howell or one of the other edge rushers that's still on board there. So that's definitely a possibility. Denzel Boston there at 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Los Angeles Chargers on the board here at 22. I'm trying to find a reason that I don't just immediately and with absolute gusto take one of these 2 interior offensive linemen. The question is which one? I like Vega Ione better. Emmanuel Pregnon is more multiple. So the question is, are you looking for the guy that's going to fit one of those positions, or are you looking for the better of the players? In the chat, right here for the Chargers, you're going to get Slater back next year. You're going to get Alt back next year. Would you take Emmanuel Pregnon, who can play center or guard, or would you take the better guard in Vega Ione? The Mekhi Becton thing did not work out. He was not very good. Zion Johnson has not been very good. I feel like they've screwed this up with guards for so long that this is my thought. I can be swayed. Caden Proctor is also in the chat, in the discussion here too. I don't have Caden Proctor that high. That's the reason that I hadn't said his name. But thank you, Gary Birch, and actually Gary Birch He was the one that said it. He just said it multiple times. I don't have Proctor this high. I have Pregnon and Ione ahead of Proctor. So I feel like I should take Vega Ione here, and that's what I'm going to do. But I'm telling you, there is more to Emmanuel Pregnon going right here than meets the eye. Vega Ione, just a BDD out of Penn State. I think he's a balanced run blocker, pass blocker. He's really, really sound out in space. When I watch the tape on him, I don't see much miss. The only thing that scares me is a little heavy in the ass, and that does worry me. But I also don't see any miss. Now, I said that about Zion Johnson, and they found a way to make him miss. So it's not infallible. But here at 23, we go Vega Ione. Philadelphia Eagles, here at 23. And the world is kind of their oyster because there are a lot of dudes on the board that I think could help this team. Tight end, with as good a season as Dallas Goedert had, I feel like you have to bring him back. They could add another corner. The question is there one here that really makes you feel warm and fuzzy? Because Avion Terrell is the one that I've got the highest on the board, but he's a slot corner. There's not really a Georgia Bulldog to take here. Trust me, I already looked. So the question is, who would they take? I've considered Monroe Freeling because that's a take the high side. I've considered Caleb Lamu. I think it's one of those two. Gary Birch is saying Max Ironacre. This is still a little early for Ironacre to me. Caden Proctor makes sense because they like some big ass linemen. The problem I have with Proctor is that I don't think he can play on the outside. Oh God, I just realized Freeling played at Georgia. I have to do that now. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles that take Georgia Bulldogs like it's their lifeblood. I feel like I have to take Monroe Freeling here. He would ultimately be the replacement to Lane Johnson. I think off the rip, he actually can play guard. He hasn't played a ton. He's very tall. Started at left tackle this year. I think he's played 13 games. I think that's the number that I saw. This just feels very Philadelphia Eagle-y that you take the big-ass kid at 6'7", 315. That's what I'm going to do. They love Georgia Bulldogs so much that that's the tiebreaker for me. The problem I have with Proctor, I don't see a way he ever plays a snap of tackle in this league. I know not everybody not everybody's going to love that one, but that one just makes too much sense for me to not do it. And he slots in at right guard while you've still got Lane Johnson in the building, then he kicks out. Yeah, for me, it makes too much sense not to do. Okay, we are to the Cleveland Browns, who have already picked Reuben Bain earlier. The receivers have been kind of pilfered over. The offensive line hasn't, though. And this went exactly how it went the first time I did this, which is a lineman falls right in your lap. They need offensive linemen, and Caleb Lamu is right here. Way better pass blocker right now than he is run blocker, but he is a guy that can come in, plug and play right away. Utah's weird in that they had two tackles. One played on the left, one played on the right. They both project to play right in the NFL. But Lamu's the one that I think in time could play on the left if you needed him to. For me, this is an immediate just run the card up there. I got to have an offensive lineman. It's the best offensive lineman on the board. We're in the middle of a run because we've had Ione, Freeling, and now Lamu and back-to-back-to-back picks. So Cleveland there with Caleb Lamu. They start with Reuben Bain and Caleb Lamu. That's pretty damn good. Get that, and as Randy said, get that Pro Bowl quarterback some protection. Hey. Chicago Bears, I believe this is the drop-dead spot for T.J. Parker, but T.J. Parker's not here. So where do you go from here? And I feel like Chicago can go a lot of different ways. In the chat, which direction would you go if you're the Chicago Bears? I have a player in mind, but I could be convinced otherwise. I'm looking at edge rushers. Could go Cassius Howell. I think he's a little hat on a hat with Montez Sweat. I could go defensive tackle. I could go one of the linebackers here. I think their offense is pretty well set. If there was a running back that I was just in love with, which there is not, I would take them here. But I'm curious to see the names that I get in the chat. Seeing Cassius Howell, seeing C.J. Allen, seeing Avion Terrell. Terrell's interesting here. The only thing is that he plays exclusively in the slot. The Bears do need a slot corner. Whew. Avion Terrell could make that secondary friggin' evil. For me, this comes down to three names. It's either Avion Terrell, it's Cassius Howell, or this is where I think we could start talking about Lee Hunter. I think Lee Hunter could go this high. I'm trying to decide if I want to go with my gut. I like Terrell. But there's something about Hunter that feels. I said PFF put him there in their mock, and I'm not gonna lie. I looked at that and went, "Damn, that could be good," because there are edges down the line. Andreas Pinckney said Dennis Allen loves corners. I think it's Terrell speaking from experience. You're right. You're being the voice of reason. That's why I asked the chat. We're going Avion Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson. That gives them Pro Bowler Nashawn Wright, former Pro Bowler Jalen Johnson, and now Avion Terrell in the slot. That is a really, really evil combination of corners. And look, I like Terrell. People will say, "Oh, Terrell fell in Jeremy's mock." He didn't really fall. I mean, he's 20 on my board. He went 25 overall. So it's not really like he fell that far. But he is slot specific, and I think that is going to hurt him to a point. We are to pick 26, the Buffalo Bills. There's a lot you can do here. Buffalo's biggest needs for me are a wide receiver, for the love of God, a wide receiver, edge rusher, and then help in the back half. I don't mind C.J. Allen here. That would really help them against the run. I don't know how well he's going to work with Jimmy Leonard, though. I'm going back to that Rex Ryan defense because in my head, that's what Jim's going to run when he gets his shot. Is there a wide receiver here? I'm trying to think if there's a wide receiver that I could convince myself of taking this high, and there's really just not. There's going to be a run on wide receiver sometime in round 2 that is aggressive. I don't think they go Cassius Howell. I'll actually tell you, I know exactly where Cassius Howell's going to go, and it is one pick from now. C.J. Allen feels just too good to pass up. Because the Bills' linebacking core is really old. With Milano. Milano's 31. He's had some injury issues. He wasn't great this year either. Shaq Thompson's 32. TB's 27. I don't think there's a corner here that's a tremendous improvement. I'm going to go C.J. Allen, linebacker out of Georgia. I think he is the, no doubt, plug-and-play starter that they need in linebacker. Look, I've been mocking linebackers to Buffalo for years. Dorian Williams. How many times did I say that? So here I'm going to get that just downhill run stuff and dog. As Andreas said, it's a safe pick. So I'll go C.J. Allen here. In the chat, David L. asked, is this too high for Skylar Bell? It is for me. There's only really one receiver that, with where I currently have their projection, it makes sense to take them this high. And the bad thing is that I'm afraid they're going to see him as very similar to Keon Coleman in that his tape did not necessarily match his meteoric rise. So, yeah, I feel really good with C.J. Allen here. The run on receiver is coming, but it will be in round 2, not right now. 27, the San Francisco 49ers. This one's not hard. It's Cassius Howell. By the end of the year, I think you had me playing edge rusher. I get it. They took Mykel Williams last year. I think they figured out pretty quick. He's not as good as you think he is. He also doesn't play the position you think he does. Cassius Howell is a kid that will come in and just rush the passer. No doubt. Every single play. And now that you don't have Robert Saleh there, you're going to have Raheem Morris there. Having somebody like Cassius Howell because I think that defense is going to change a lot. Having somebody on the other end of Bosa, I don't think it's going to be Bryce Huff. Huff has really only ever worked with Robert Saleh. Great chance he actually ends up in Tennessee. So I'll go Cassius Howell here to the San Francisco 49ers. Houston Texans. How quick can I make this pick? Because I don't think it's all that freaking difficult. You got to have somebody that plays on the interior. The question is, do you go Caden Proctor or do you go Emmanuel Pregnon? I have Pregnon higher. Your coach went to Alabama. So those two, so he's going to have really good eyes on Alabama. I do know that they talked at the Shrine Bowl. Caleb Proctor showed up, and one of the teams that I saw him talking to was the Houston Texans. So for me, it's one of those two. Damn it. I'm second guessing myself. Pregnon makes more sense. But you know what? The Houston Texans very rarely do what makes sense. So you know what? I'm going to go Caden Proctor here. Played tackle at Alabama. Just a big physical freak of nature. 6'7", 366. I worry about his knees. I also worry about the transition to guard because I'll tell you definitively he's not going to be a tackle in this league. Somebody will see him that way. Maybe. I don't think it's Houston. I think he slots in as a guard right away. But that's a definitive starter for you as time goes on. Caden Proctor, number 28 to the Houston Texans. Los Angeles Rams, their second pick. They already took Spencer Fano at 13. There are a lot of things they could do here. I really would like to wind up with a corner. I'm not taking Ty Simpson here. I don't think it makes sense. If it makes sense for anybody, it's the Rams. I'm debating in my own head if the Rams would just go, you know what, screw it. Or would they test their luck? The only thing is that Ty Simpson reminds me a lot at times of Stetson Bennett without any of the head case problems. For me, it's either Ty Simpson or I go a corner. If I were to go corner, Brandon Cisse, Colton Hood. Oh, Colton Hood in this defense. Chris Johnson's higher rated for me, but I think Colton Hood fits them better. I think I'm going to go Colton Hood, cornerback out of Tennessee. I've had him here in the past. There were a lot of people that liked him. There were a lot of people that have liked him in the pre-draft process. Really good cover guy. He's just going to take a little bit of work. I don't think he's a ready-made product, but he is an improvement over what the Rams have. And I don't know why I'm so locked into Colton Hood being with the Rams one way or the other. They're not going to get him at 61. We take him right here at 29. There's no trades here. So, number 30, the Denver Broncos. They could go a lot of routes with this. They've wanted that Joker piece for as long as I can remember. There's just not really one. There's not really one here that makes a ton of sense. They could go Emmanuel Pregnon. And I think that would make some sense. because one of the biggest weaknesses on that line was at center and one of the guard spots. I feel like we all believe they need a wide receiver. I'm not as sure that they believe that. They see a role moving forward. They like Jahdae Barron, but I feel like they need a corner on the other side. Is it too early to take Chris Johnson? It probably is. That name keeps coming up in my head, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, to pair him with Tali Hufanga, and you just absolutely murk teams defensively. In the chat, if you're Denver, what are you doing right here? Calvin said Sean Payton does wild shit drafting. Yes, he does. Andreas Pinckney also said Sean doesn't burn major picks on wide receivers. The 2 times he did it, they burned him. I'm intrigued by the safety here. I'm intrigued by Pregnon. There's an element of Caden McDonald that I'm intrigued by. Because DJ Jones is getting older. That one could be interesting as well. I always hate when I have to sound these out. I am resisting the urge to just go Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Lee Hunter's still on board. That's a good one. Lee Hunter's a good one. Now I'm deciding between Caden McDonald. You know what? I know Sean Payton. I know how he works. And that's where this pick's going to be. I like Lee Hunter better, but I think he will like Caden McDonald better. That's your long-term nose tackle. It just cranks up the defense even more. I'm going to go Caden McDonald here to the Denver Broncos at 30. 31, the New England Patriots. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not thinking about this one all that hard. Because if I look at New England, and I'll say this for Randy before he comes in to say it. This will be the last time you have them picking at 31. It very well may be. I'm looking at the interior of that line. I'm intrigued by Pregnon a lot because I think he can play both positions. I'm also intrigued by taking a pass rusher here. I'm curious if Randy is still in the chat. Oh, Andreas Payton, I forgot. He said, yeah, Sean loved Ohio State, guys. Randy wants Thieneman, or however you say his damn name. I don't have him that high. I mean, he's up there, don't get me wrong. Thieneman is my 48. This is where this gets hard because I want them to have I want them to have Denzel Boston. It just didn't work out that way. So I've got Thieneman in my head solely because Randy's very plugged into the Patriots. I've got Pregnon in my head because that's the one that makes the most sense to me. Because that's just another really good fit on the inside. Yeah, Mesidor's not a scheme fit for New England. I like Mesidor. I just don't like him in New England. I think I'm going to go Emmanuel Pregnon. He's the only guy that I see this high. Now, could they just take Jake Slaughter around from now? Sure. And that would be a very New Englandy pick. I just don't see the guy. I'm going Pregnon. It's in my head, and I'm going to be pissed at myself if I don't do it. Pregnon shouldn't still be here. I like the safeties in New England, so I'm not really considering Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Randy said Thonman's my guy, but Pregnon isn't a bad pick. Okay, we're to Seattle. Seattle's tough. I need another receiver. For the love of all that's good and holy, get me another freaking receiver. They get Torrey Horton back next year. Rashid Shaheed's a free agent, but I think they are going to bring him back. I'd be shocked if they didn't. He's just been too good. I promise you the second round will move faster. I get to this point and I feel so handicapped because I can't make trades. For Seattle, I'm either going to make the defense evil or I'm going to add a receiver. I do have a receiver in mind. But I keep looking at Emmanuel McNeil-Warren going, you know what? If I don't do this, I'm going to be pissed off at myself. I'm going to take Emmanuel McNeil-Warren to the Seattle Seahawks. They love big secondary guys like that. And you think this defense is evil right now? You add that kid over the top? Holy sheep shit. I think I can get a receiver around from now because I don't think there's a huge drop-off if I take the one that's really ringing in my ears right now. I don't think there's a huge difference between him and what I'm going to get at 64. So I'm going Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Good God, that's my favorite pick of this mock. That's my favorite pick of this mock so far. The New York Jets have 33 and 44. So far, we have Caleb Downs and Mekhi Lemon. I feel very good about what the Jets have done so far. I'm intrigued by a bunch of guys right here. The question is, which one do I actually pull the trigger on? Looking at my board, Lee Hunter. Oh, bother. I hate to do that solely because it's giving one of my favorite players to my favorite team, but I'm going to do it. And people call me a homer. That's fine. I've been called worse. We're going Big Cat Lee Hunter here at 33 to the New York Jets. He was one of the winners of the Senior Bowl. He showed actual legit pass rush chops. He's an absolute run-stuffing monster. I think he can play at 4-man front. I think he can play 3-man front. He can play 0, 1, 3. It doesn't really matter. I think he can do any of it. And the Jets get a replacement there for Quinnen Williams. I like that pick a lot for the Jets. I think the Jets are, in my head, the Jets are taking best player available, wide receiver, defensive tackle. That's how this is going to go. And then they might get a corner with that last pick. So we'll see as we go on here. Arizona Cardinals. Oh, Red Sea, I did not mean to do that, the pick before you. Arizona Cardinals got Francis Mauigoa with their first selection. There's not a running back to take here. And I don't actually agree with the industry that that's like their biggest need. Arizona, to me, has a good number of needs. I'm going to defer to Red Sea right here. I have a couple names in my head. Red Sea, if you're picking right here at 30, 34? I'm not saying that I'm going to take who you say. I'm just curious where you would go. You know, Joshua Penix, any of the Cardinal fans. I'm curious where you would go with this pick. Red Sea said we needed a defensive tackle with Nolan being out for a while. You still have a defensive tackle here if you want one in Kristen Miller. And I think it's funny that he's like the forgotten guy. I do think it's funny. He's like the forgotten man. And absolutely no one seems to want him. In the meantime, I think he might be the safest one in the class. They could go Concepcion. Let me look at Arizona here. I'm going to have to speed up or I'm going to cut into Tank and Chris. Got to go a little faster as we go on here. God, they do need a nose tackle. Bad. Do I have another nose tackle that makes sense here? It's too early for all of them. So, all right, so I'm going to target that in the next round. So now we have to go the old pen and paper route. I have a name that I'm going to target with Arizona. What is their next pick? They pick at 65. Okay, so I'm not going to go defensive tackle here because I can get one of those down the line. Red Sea likes Miller, Concepcion. Damn it! You said the name. You said the name. You know what? I'm going to do it because this team needs a pass rusher. Zaven Collins was fine. I don't think he was great. I need somebody on the other side of Josh Sweat, and you know what? I think this kid can be an absolute dog. So I'm going to go R. Mason Thomas, edge rusher out of Oklahoma. I am higher on this kid than virtually anybody else because I swear to God I see Nick Benito 2.0 in him. And I'm glad you said that. It's the reason that I can defer to the chat because I know you guys are really freaking smart. And that's a high level pick. You will not hear that name in a lot of mocks this high. Gary Burt said not higher than me. I would actually challenge you on that. R. Mason Thomas was the highest player left on my board right there. The two highest rated players on my board have been the last two picks. I feel good about that. I had to sound that one out, but I do feel good about it. Arizona at 34, R. Mason Thomas. Tennessee Titans took Arvell Reese earlier. This is where I think we start getting into the wide receiver bonanza here. These rankings have not been updated since our time in Mobile. I look at Tennessee. You go into next year, you got Chimere DK that's going to play out of the slot. IU Manor plays on the outside on one side. You've still got Calvin Ridley for whatever that is worth. I've got to have a weapon for Cam Ward. So here I'm going to go Malachi Fields, wide receiver out of Notre Dame. And yes, I know that looks like it was off the board. It's really not because that's where that kid belongs. In my rankings, I've got him. He's not quite that high, but he's pretty high. Oh, damn, now I can't find him. There he is. I'm keeping track of guys as we go on my own personal list. Okay, Malachi Fields to the Tennessee Titans. I've done this before. I'm probably, you know what? I'm not. The Raiders need a lot of shit. And as I'm looking at this team, I think I can get the boyfriend for Fernando Mendoza that I want. I think I can get him with my third round pick. I have got to be able to keep. I've got to be able to keep him upright. In the chat, they've already said the name of the guy that I'm targeting in round 3, but I think he goes closer to there than here. I'm going to go Max Ionacre. I have him playing tackle out of Arizona State. I forgot what pick the Raiders have in the third round. But I already know who it is. Einaker had a great week at the Senior Bowl and really confirmed to me that he can play tackle. He's still learning how to play the position, but he slots in immediately on the right side. Now I've got bookend tackles to protect Mendoza. I will get that weapon for him in round 3. The Giants took Carnell Tate at number 5. So I've got my wide receiver. I really need to look to the offensive line here or a corner. The question is, which one would the Giants prioritize? Because remember, they don't have a third-round pick. My God, their corners are terrible. I'm going to go a corner here. The question is, which one? On my board, it would be Chris Johnson. I think on a lot of boards, it would be either Cisse or Abney. I like Brandon Cisse a lot. I like South Carolina defenders a lot just because I know they're coached well. And this kid's an absolute bulldog against the run. He's almost a safety. I mean, that's how he plays. He's almost a safety. And when you look at what I like Adebo, I'm in like with him, not love with him. I think you got to get somebody on the opposite side. You know what? I saw him up close and personal when they played Virginia Tech. The tape on him in that was just so damn good. I'm going Brandon Cisse, cornerback out of South Carolina. I think he's an immediate plug-and-play starter, and you just don't get many of those. There's just not a ton of those in this class. I like that a lot. All right, Houston Texans, they started with Caden Proctor. They have 38 here. The positions of need that I am looking at, oh, damn it. If Nick Singleton hadn't gotten hurt, I swear to you, I'd take him right here. I can wait on running back a spot because I don't think it's time for that run of guys to happen. I think I'm going to take Kristen Miller right here. I think I'm going to take Kristen Miller right here with the intention of at 59, I'm taking a running back for the Texans. And I know which one I think it is. I'm going to take Kristen Miller here, defensive tackle out of Georgia. Really solid run guy. I've already got my 2 edges that are just bulldogs. That gives me what Sheldon Rankins was supposed to be. I like that fit for Houston. I think Gary Birch is reading my fucking mind. Like every time I say a pick, he's either just said it or he says it right after it comes out of my mouth. Cleveland Browns here have already gone Reuben Bain, Caleb Lomu. I need a wide receiver here really, really badly. The question is which one. So as I look at Cleveland, I don't really have anybody outside of Judy that I think is just completely locked in. Judy's going to play on the outside. You're probably going to have Tillman on the opposite side. I need a safety blanket. I've already got one in Harold Fannin. Gary strikes again. Casey Concepcion, wide receiver out of Texas A&M. Gives me a slot guy. Gives me a reliable safety blanket for Shador. What they tried to do it with Malachi Corley. Malachi just wound up not being what you wanted him to be. Drop rate's a little high on Casey Concepcion, but he's just really, really good out of the slot. Kansas City took Kenyon Sadiq in the first round. I'm going to look to bulk up this offensive line right here. This is going to be a player that you hear me say a lot through the process because there are 2 offensive tackles that I freaking love in this class. The first one is Blake Miller out of Clemson. I have a way higher grade than the rest of the industry on Blake Miller. I liked him so much coming into the season. He was in my preliminary top 25, and he didn't really do anything to push me off of that. Didn't have the greatest season you've ever seen, but nobody at Clemson did. And I think in Kansas City, he fits so perfectly what they're trying to do. Took Peter Woods in the first round for the Cincinnati Bengals. Excuse me. I'm going to try to get somebody on the interior right here. I already know the name I'm going to take. The question is, where are they in the software? Yep. Brian Parker II from Duke. If you liked the kid that went to Tampa Bay, whose name is eluding me, it's Graham Barton. If you liked him, you're probably going to like Brian Parker. The difference in the two is that I think Parker can still play on the outside as well. So he slots in as a guard to start. This is an immediate starter off the rip, and gives me the piece that I think this team really needs on the interior. New Orleans Saints. I'm going to defer to my Saints fans here, see what name they're. I know one of them is going to say Chris Bell. I don't have Chris Bell this high, just so you know. But Chris Bell is definitely in the conversation at 73. Calvin said Mesidor would be a very Mickey type of pick for the Saints, especially since they went offense in the first round. I'm not going to lie to you. Mesidor is one of the names that I've been looking at. I've had a couple that I've been stuck on with the Saints. I'm really interested to see what everybody says on this one. And just for posterity's sake, took Jeremiah Love in the first round. Andres Pinckney said, I think the Saints are going to go heavy offense in this draft. Randy really does not like Hakeem Mesidor. And I'll be honest with you, I don't disagree with you. I think we have gotten locked in on what he did with Reuben Bain on the other side. I wouldn't be mad at it. This is about the range that I think they need to go. That's the word I was looking for. See, I think this is the reason I went Brian Parker for Cincinnati. I think we're in a run. The problem is that there's not a ton of guys. There are a few that I like better than the industry, but there's not a ton of interior offensive linemen that I'm just wild about here. It's so hard to find one that fits. New Orleans is such a difficult team to figure out. Andres Pinckney asked if Gabe Jackas would be too high here. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't love him with his... I had not thought of Gabe Jackas. I don't mind Gabe Jackas at all. That's actually see, this is why I crowdsource this when I get into issues. I like that. But now that I've thought about it, yeah, I like Gabe Jackas a lot. Because he is a standing edge outside the tackle that you put him and Chase Young together, and my God. Pinckney said, I think they go wide receiver here. It's too early for receiver because there's and I'll just tell you with my board, the next 50 picks have like 15 receivers in them. Because there's so many that are so close. So, yeah, here I'm going to go Gabe Jackas. I really like this kid. I liked him at the Senior Bowl. Pass rush win rate was 15%. One of the highest rated edge rushers in the class. He's also big. So he can play with his hand down or his hand up. I like that pick. I didn't like it as much to start, and then the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. Miami Dolphins. This is a spot where you could start looking at Ty Simpson. They got Mansour Delane in the first round. I don't think there are a ton of options here for them. Great North Sports said Miami needs so much help. I agree with you. The question is, where am I going to find it? I mean, Miami's just killed. It's crazy how far down the hole this team has fallen. The guard, my God, the entire offensive line was terrible last year. If you don't have Tyreek Hill, you've literally got one receiver. Somehow your defensive line sucks, even though you've just put a bajillion draft picks into it. There's really nobody that I feel great about taking here. There's a name that I keep looking at, and it's like it's staring back at me. It's Anthony Hill Jr. Because I feel like that's the kind of pick Miami makes. Not because I think he's a bad player, but because I don't think he fits that. I think they're going to say, well, it's a new GM. I forgot. No Chris Greer. Take that back. I like Anthony Hill Jr., and I was about to say some shit that made me sound like I didn't like him. Gary Burt said Connor Lew. It's a little high for Lew for me, especially with how good Jake Slaughter was at the Senior Bowl. Miami still got 2 picks. They'll wind up with an interior guy here at some point. It's just not going to be this high. There's part of me that is thinking Akeem Mesidor because they're going to have really good eyes on him, and you're going to get more of a Green Bay defense than what you had with Anthony Weaver. I think that's where I'm headed. I'm going to go Akeem Mesidor, edge rusher out of Miami. Think back to how Hafley used some of those thicker guys, whether it was Van Ness, how he wanted to use them in Green Bay. I think Mesidor fits that. Great North said, do they go quarterback later? For me, there's not a quarterback that's even half-ass draftable right here. To the point of the Jets have 44. This is their last pick. I could see a path that they take a flyer on Ty Simpson, which is why I'm going to do it right here. I don't think he goes this high. He definitely shouldn't. He may go higher because there are just not any quarterbacks in this class. So the Jets do a Jetty thing and take Ty Simpson at 44. And for those that are curious why I don't love Ty Simpson, he's Mac Jones with wheels. That's hard to love. Keldrick Falk was the pick of the Baltimore Ravens in the first round. I really want to get them a weapon of some kind. They got Zay Flowers plays out of the slot. I think this could be where we start seeing wide receivers come off the board. The question is which one. Alex said, I think Baltimore's Chris Bell's dropped dead. I'm telling you, with the injury, Chris Bell's not going this high. He's just not. There's a possibility he can't even start the year next year. The one that I keep looking at here is Chris Brazil. I think that's the one I'm going to go with because he's kind of Tez Walker on steroids. And they've tried to get it out of Tez, and Tez has been fine, but they need a real honest-to-God deep threat. Yeah, I think I'm going to go Chris Brazil here. He's kind of Dante Thornton on steroids, really big wide receiver, which helps because they have little tiny Zay Flowers. But I love Zay. And you give me those two with likely coming over the middle, because I think they will find I don't know how they'll do it, but they'll find some way. We'll go Chris Brazil right there to Baltimore. Something I do want to talk about with him, I've heard a lot of he's lazy. That's literally what Tennessee does with wide receivers. I've heard that out of every receiver they've had come into the draft in the last handful of years. They tell them to take plays off. They're just out there as decoys. It's not that he's lazy. He's doing what he's told. Do I love that? No, I don't, but I'm not their coach. Jermod McCoy went at 15 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I would really like to get an edge here. There's a name. There's a name, and it's just screaming at me. It's just screaming at me. This is one of those that I'm trying to figure out, do they do the smart thing or do they do the Buccaneer thing? I saw two Zion Youngs here. The reason that I don't love that is that I think Zion's better with his hand down. It's Anthony Hill. It's the name that I just kept looking at. I couldn't stop looking at it. He's so multiple. Really good as a run defender. The pass rush kind of dropped last year. He was not as good last year. But and you know what? Maybe I'm thinking too hard for the Buccaneers, and they would take a guy that doesn't fit the scheme at all. But Anthony Hill, to me, would be a guy that you can move all over that defense. So that's where I'm going at 46. Indianapolis Colts first pick, since they gave their first rounder to the Jets. Sorry, I'm getting a little hoarse. There are a lot of players that I could see going here, but there's one that is just absolutely screaming at me. I just want to make sure that I'm right here. It's easy to like this Indianapolis team. I don't think I can. Gary, Jesus Christ, are you reading off my screen? Like, I don't even have that written down anywhere. It's Dylan Theinman. That was the name I was sitting here staring at going, can I find a reason not to do this? And the answer is no, not really. And that's a really solid pick for them considering they haven't had a pick so far. Back-to-back teams that have not had a pick so far, the Atlanta Falcons. At 48, I really want to get a weapon. And I know, not everybody loves this kid, but I don't know why you don't love this kid. It's Jeremy Bernard, wide receiver from Alabama. I really like him on tape. He just has kind of a Calvin Ridley role to me. Is he ever going to be your number one? No, I don't need him to be a number one. I need him to be a 2 behind Drake London, and I need him to do some of that dirty work across the middle, and I think he'll do that. If I'm not mistaken, that's who I gave Atlanta in the first mock, too. Minnesota took Jordan Tyson with their first pick. This is where I think we start getting into the running back territory. The question is which one, because the one that I really like is not going this high. Nick Singleton's the one that I am in love with, but that broken bone in his foot's probably going to push him down. The question is, which one do you take here at 49 for Minnesota? They like a more all-around back. I feel like Singleton should be the second back drafted in this class. You know what? It's my mock. I'm going to do what I would do, and I don't give a damn that he's not going to be out there. I want the best running back that there is out there, and I get it. Singleton wasn't good towards the end of the season, but he is the one that I look at and go, he has the best potential to be the best player in the NFL. Among the running backs, not the best player in the NFL. Detroit here at 50. Old Jennings Dunker with their first pick. I mean, this is just I think I'm just going to hand my microphone to Gary and go, Gary, you do this from here on. Zion Young. I was not as high on Zion Young coming into the Senior Bowl, which is why I'm lower on him. There is a possibility that he could sneak in the back of the first round. I just don't see it. I think he falls in about that early to mid round 2. That would be a hammer start for the Detroit Lions, going offensive line and then Zion Young. They get two of my favorite guys in this class. Carolina on the board here at 51. They got Caleb Banks with their first selection. There are so many ways I could go here for Carolina. I want to keep building that defense. I am intrigued at the idea. Bill Workman said Kyle Lewis. I don't love him in this scheme. Alex said Jake Galday. I'm not as high on Galday. I'm going linebacker here. The question is, which one am I going? Because I know which one I want to take. I just don't know how great he's going to fit in the system. Jacob Rodriguez is the one that I keep looking at because I think he can just do a little bit of anything. 6'1", 235. I mean, the kid has just succeeded at every freaking level, so there is no reason that he can't do this. That's where I'm going. I'm going Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker out of Texas Tech. That's the leader of your defense moving forward. You look at Derek Brown. You look at Derek Brown. You look at Caleb Banks, the two young pass rushers. Alex says Rodriguez too small to play 3-4 inside linebacker. I don't agree with you, and I'll tell you why I don't agree with you. Because you got Caleb Banks and Derek Brown in front of him. And that's the guy that I think he absolutely leads your defense. I'm going Jacob Rodriguez. I don't think anything can stop that kid. Gary Burt said, look at their GM. That's a damn good point you got there. I like Rodriguez. Alex said I like to hurt his feelings all the time. That would be Caleb Banks, Jacob Rodriguez. I don't care if you drafted Yosemite fucking Sam for the rest of this draft. That's going to get an A- at worst. That's two of my favorite players in this class. And you got them both, and you didn't overdraft either one of them. Green Bay finally gets involved in the goings on here. Green Bay is one of those teams that doesn't. It feels like they don't need a lot, but they need a lot. I'm gonna have to scream through the third round, and I knew I was going to do this to myself. There are a couple places I could go here. Abney out of Arizona State is definitely one. You know what? There's a player I like better, and I can take a shot on him here. It's Chris Johnson, the cornerback out of San Diego State. He didn't show as well at the Senior Bowl as we wanted him to, and I feel like everybody's kind of jumped off the – I always laugh when guys jump off the hype train on a guy because he didn't show out and just blow up at the Senior Bowl. I always laugh at that because those guys routinely become players in the league. I will tell you, Alex, I don't love Deontay Lawson as much as a lot of other people do. I think he'll be a fine piece. I've just watched too many of these guys go in the league, and then they're a jack of all trades, master of none. But I wouldn't hate that pick. You're talking about Deontay Lawson to replace Quay Walker. Oh, Pittsburgh Steelers here, 53. Pittsburgh has 3 more picks in this. And I'll go ahead and tell you, one of them's going to be a quarterback. It's just a question of which one. It's not going to be this one, though. With their first pick, they took Denzel Boston, which I thought was a really solid selection by them. Pittsburgh needs a lot. I feel like they're so invested in the line that I can't go there. I feel like they need a corner. It's just a question of which one. Now you got Patrick Graham, which makes me think they're going to change that defense a little bit. Abney is definitely high on this list. Are they smart enough to go Malik Muhammad? I'm going to go Keith Abney. He should not still be on the board here. I need a corner here in Pittsburgh. I like Malik Muhammad better. I don't know that everybody else is going to like him better. All right, we're to 54 with the Philadelphia Eagles. They took Monroe Freeling in the first round. It's too easy. Because this is the other player I was considering for Pittsburgh. Dalen Everett, cornerback out of Georgia. We all know how they feel about Georgia players. They need a guy on the outside, and I'm not going to lie to you, Dalen Everett was a friggin' dog in Mobile. He did exactly what I want a number 2 corner to do. I never said his name. I watched him a lot and went, that's a nothing rep for the receiver. That's what I want to see out of a number 2 corner. Dalen Everett there at 54 to the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to get through the second round here. Then I'm going to have to take a break because I need water or something because I'm not going to have a voice in the third round. The Chargers took Vega Ione at 22. We're here at 55. This is where I want to get an interior defensive lineman. It's just a question of which one. Creighton Northport said, water? That's a funny way of saying monster. I already have a monster. Now I need a water. I'm considering a couple guys here. I think the one that I like the best is Darrell Jackson, Jr. out of Florida State. Just an absolute monster. Came from Shrine to senior. I heard nothing but good things. I feel like he's a lock to go in the top 75, and he might go this high. So I'm going to take him right there at 55. And I see several names here in the chat. There are several really good interior defensive linemen. Alex does not like Dante Corleone. I've been with him. He's my third of the big hog mollies right here. I like Darrell Jackson, Big Orange, and then the Godfather. Jacksonville Jaguars first pick in this particular exercise. They have 4 of them. I do like the idea of going safety here. We haven't had a ton of safeties, and there's so many of them. The question is, which one do they want? I know which one I like for them. I'm trying to think with that defense. I want the over-the-top guy. A lot of people really like Genesis Smith. I like Genesis Smith. I don't know that I like him better than A.J. Halsey, but I might like him better than A.J. Halsey for Jacksonville because they don't need his ability to play down in the slot because they got Jordan Lewis. There are so many safeties that I like right here. Genesis Smith is really easy to like. You know what? I'm going to do it. It was one of the ones I was considering anyway, and the more I kept looking at I don't care that Halsey can play in the slot. Genesis Smith right here at 56 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Chicago Bears took Avion Terrell in the first round. I want to get a edge rusher right here, and this one is super easy. Romello Height. He's 74 years old, which is the reason he's still here. But he showed real pass rush chops at Texas Tech. Yes, it did help he had David Bailey on the other side. But Romello Height in the second round, that's a hell of a start for the Chicago Bears. San Francisco 49ers got Cassius Howell in the first round. I am definitely looking at, is there a weapon that we can add here? The question is which one. I mean, and as you look at this, you can just see how many freaking receivers we have. But the one that I keep coming back to for San Francisco is Omar Cooper. He fits what they do so well. And I look at him with Pearsall and Jawan Jennings. I just like the fit. So here we go. 58, Omar Cooper, wide receiver to the San Francisco 49ers. Houston Texans have gone Caden Proctor, Kristen Miller. This is where I'm going to go running back. And I'm going to go my guy, Mike Washington Jr. This kid was an absolute dog at the Senior Bowl, and I'm telling you, he's going higher than you think. He's my number 2 running back in the class at this point. And if you need an absolute bell cow, that kid can do everything. Every other running back does one thing particularly well. Washington and Singleton are the only 2 that I see as legit bell cows outside of Jeremiah Love. Buffalo at 60. They took C.J. Allen at 26. Excuse me. They took C.J. Allen at 26. I'm going to give Buffalo a player I really like here. I'm going to give Buffalo a player I really like here. He shouldn't still be on the board, but he is because of his size. Malik Muhammad, cornerback out of Texas. I feel like we got a touch of – we just got tired of saying his name. And that's a stupid reason to not like guys, but we do it every single year. I absolutely love Malik Muhammad. Alex said you got to do something about the weapons or the secondary because holy shit, it's bad. It is. And with Buffalo, I'm going to look to add a receiver with that last pick that I have from them. And I have one in mind. Los Angeles Rams have gone Spencer Fano, Colton Hood. This is where I start looking into maybe. So Trinidad Chambliss is actively not in this class. If he were to get in, it would have to be a supplemental draft because he's not in it as of right now. I also think he's going back to Ole Miss. This is where things get a little sideways I know for a fact that Sean McVay really likes smart quarterbacks. And I have a funny feeling he's going to be the one that jumps on this grenade and takes Garrett Nussmeier. This class is so bad that they're all going to go higher than they should. He didn't take, with one of his first-round picks, he gets a guy really good in the room, and you can develop him, hopefully get him back to full health, and he'll start to look like a facsimile of the prospect that he was going into the process. Okay. Caden McDonald was the first-round pick of the Denver Broncos. Here's where I'm going to start looking at those move piece tight ends. I think Eli Stowers is the one. 6'4", 235. He is a pain in the ass to deal with. He is a really good pass catcher. And I think he can be kind of that joker that they've talked about. I also think he's going to run faster than people believe. And I have that on really good authority because I know the guy that's training. Eli Stowers would be a great pick there at 62 for the Denver Broncos. Alex asked, "Is Stowers a wish Loveland?" That's not a bad comp. He kind of is a wish Loveland. I like him a lot. I think the fact he had a lollipop gilled quarterback is one of the things that pushed him down. New England Patriots took Emmanuel Pregnon at 31. You've addressed the line. There are so many freaking linebackers here that I like. And I'm tempted. Also, I don't know where Randy is. I haven't seen his name in a minute. I'm curious. Randy likes Jacoby Lane. That's interesting. Lane did not help himself in the Senior Bowl. If New England was going to take Jacoby Lane, I would say it would be at 95. That's an interesting way to look at that. They didn't get Boston. Fields is off the board. Lane is the last guy that fits what we need. I don't know that you would take that this. You know what? I'm perfectly good with the fit, and you just saved me the problem of trying to figure out which linebacker I would take with New England. So you know what? I'm going to agree with you. Alex S. said Lane got destroyed in the Senior Bowl by a lot of people. I don't agree with how you said that. The problem with the guy like Jacoby Lane is that Jacoby Lane's really good with the ball in his hands. And when you look at a situation like the Senior Bowl, that is not conducive to yak guys. Because we're trying to get you open to make the quarterback look good to make the throw. I didn't push Jacoby Lane down as much. I think the industry did. I have no problem with him here, though. So we'll go Jacoby Lane at 63 for the New England Patriots. I like Jacoby. I'm just going to be 100% honest with you. I like Jacoby. Big target. And with the ball in his hands, he is real dangerous. Seattle got the most evil pick in the draft with Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Seattle here, I want to go an offensive lineman. Oh, I know exactly who I'm taking, and this immediately becomes my favorite draft class by a mile. It's Jake Slaughter, center out of Florida. I love that kid. He is an immediate starter in Seattle. And now I'm looking at that line going, you have let me fix all of the issues that I've had. I love that pick for Seattle. Okay, I need to take about a 5-minute break here. Andreas Pinckney said, "Damn it, Jeremy. Hey, I got a draft for every team." I need to take about a 5-minute break here to just go get a water or something because I have been talking for a very long time. So give me about 5 minutes and I will be right back.
Devil in a red dress. Call 911, I'm a killer. You know I hate to confess. Bang, bang, got my hand on the trigger. The devil in a red dress. Call 911, I'm a killer. You know I hate to confess. Bang, bang, got my hand. Call
Okay, sorry about that. I was struggling to talk. 2 winter storms. Never lost water, never lost power. Lost water. Now that it's 40 some odd degrees outside. Asheville doesn't make sense sometimes. All right, we're into the third round. We'll have to do this pretty quick. I got 43 minutes until Chris and Tank start on iHeartRadio Asheville or iHeartRadio, the iHeartRadio app, and ESPN Asheville, so I have to go through this pretty quick. Arizona Cardinals. I had actually already made this pick before we ever got here. It's Dominique Orange. Big citrus, gigantic human being. I was really sad that he didn't make it to the Senior Bowl, but that definitely fills a need for Arizona. Tennessee has gone Arvell Reese and Malachi Fields. I got the receiver. I got the linebacker. Now at some point I got to get a corner that can play in this Robert Saleh scheme. So I'm going Keontae Scott, really good zone coverage guy. Somebody asked me earlier why he was falling. It's not so much that he's falling, it's that I think people had him too high to begin with. He was good. I've seen people put him in the first round. That's insane to me. I never saw that player out of him. I think this is about where he fits. Maybe a little higher. I would say it's in that 50 to 75 range. Las Vegas Raiders have gone Fernando Mendoza, Max Ironacre, and now we get Fernando's bestest good friend, Elijah Surratt. To me, he's going to fill that Jacoby Myers role. And I think him and Bowers with Ashton Genty, we're off to a pretty good start in Raiderland. The Eagles don't have any more Georgia Bulldogs to take, but they do have a guy to take that I am telling you, when you see this, it's going to piss you off, and that's fine. Sam Roush, tight end out of Stanford. I don't think they're going to go long term on Dallas Goedert. Sam Roush, to me, is one of the best tight ends in this class. He's a really good blocker, got really nice soft hands. I think he'll work nicely as the 2 for a year, and then he will ultimately be the replacement to Goddard. Andreas Pinckney said, bastard. Sorry. Apologies. Houston here at 69. They've already taken Caden Proctor, Kristen Miller, and Mike Washington Jr., their running back of the future. Now we're getting into, we can go a little bit of more of a luxury pick. Deontay Lawson, linebacker out of Alabama. I am not super in love with this kid because he's very small. So to me, he either needs to go to a Houston or he needs to go to a San Francisco if they keep that same defense, or Tennessee, somebody like that. I like Deontay Lawson in the right defense. I am not in love with him if he goes to the wrong place because he's thin as hell. Cleveland Browns have gone Ruben Bain, Caleb Lamu, KC Concepcion. This is a team that just has to keep adding talent. And so for me, it's not so much who is the best player on the board. It's more who is the player who's the best player on the board. And for me, there are a good number of these, but the one that I can't get away from because I really, really don't like that Browns line. I keep coming back that Ethan Pocic he's getting older. And I'm going to take Connor Lew here. I feel like I've got to have this line settled. And I think between Pocic and Lew, one of them can play guard. I don't know which one. But Lew, to me, is the ultimate long-term center. Washington has made it on the board here at 71. I'm pissed off that there's no Gabe Jackas. But you did get David Bailey at 7. There are a lot of positions I could go with here. If there was a corner that I felt really legit good about, of which there is one, and don't tempt me because I will take him. I would like a wide receiver. The question is which one. And there's not one that I'm just insane about right here, except the one that I am insane about. It's Ted Hurst. I said this on the Take Command podcast. I think Ted Hurst drop dead is the Washington Commanders. 6'3", $195. He ate everybody's lunchbox at senior. So he goes there to Washington, and that is a A+ for me. You get two of my favorite players in the class, David Bailey and Ted Hurst. Cincinnati Bengals have gone Peter Woods and Brian Parker the second. Here I'm looking for somebody in that back half. The question is which position. Am I looking to draft a corner? Am I looking to draft a safety? I think their safeties were so unbelievably bad last year that I'm going to take the best safety on the board. And for me, that's A.J. Halsey, safety out of LSU. He can play in the slot. He can play deep. I really like this kid, probably more than the industry. So for me, that's an A+ pick for the Bengals and a really good start to the draft. New Orleans has gone Jeremiah Love, Gabe Jackas, and here they will get Chris Bell, wide receiver out of Louisville. I think he fits nicely in New Orleans, and I'm being kind to my New Orleans fans friends that love Chris Bell slightly more than I do. So I'm gonna trust that you know your team better than I do. And coming off the injury, I don't know exactly when he's going to be available, but I know it will be sometime in 2026. I forgot what year it was there for a second. Chris Bell to the New Orleans Saints. Let's see. Now we are to the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City has gone Kenyon Sadiq and Blake Miller early on. I feel like I have addressed the things that I wanted to address. I still need a running back. The question is there one that I'm completely in love with here for Kansas City? There's really not. So then I get into the defensive line. Is there an edge that I'm in love with here? Hell, I'll be damned. There is. Derek Moore, edge out of Michigan. He had a phenomenal week at the Senior Bowl. I will tell you this. There is some bugaboo about Michigan edge rushers that they always get pushed down. I literally every year have a Michigan edge rusher that I like, and they never go as high as I think they should. Not since Aiden Hutchinson has one gone where I thought they should. Miami Dolphins pick 75 here. $75 for the Miami Dolphins. I've got to add a receiver of some kind. I don't think we're just going crazy badass speed anymore. But there is a player that I'm really fond of. It's Skylar Bell, and he is fast as hell. So I look at him as a player that I think will more start the receiver run, which we're basically still at the start right here. You add him to Miami, I think that's your receiver 2 down the line. May not be immediate. The Pittsburgh Steelers have gone Denzel Boston and Keith Abney II. The pick here at 76, and I think they would turn this in really quickly. It's LT Overton. I'm remiss to call him an edge. I don't know exactly what he is. He's 280 pounds, but he moves like he's 240. So he's kind of a weird evaluation. But I do look at him in a situation like Pittsburgh and go, that's where you're going to fit in. Tampa Bay Buccaneers have had a solid start here with Jamad McCoy and Anthony Hill Jr. There are a few different ways that I could go here. If I'm Tampa Bay, this is where I'm probably going to throw the dart at finding somebody that can rush the passer. I know they have the kid, and they took Hill. He's going to be kind of an edge rusher, but he's also going to be an off-ball. So I'm going to look here to who can I possibly get that can stand up. Joshua Josephs is intriguing. Danny Dennis Sutton is intriguing. Mikhail Kamara is intriguing. And then we see my best good friend there, a new Instagram follower, Nadam Tucker at the end. I'm going to go Joshua Josephs. I have him higher than virtually everybody in the industry. But I think he's probably going to fall in somewhere like this. He's higher rated on my board than this, but I think he will fit in right there with Tampa Bay. Let's go to the chat, see if there's anything. Okay. We are to 78 with the Indianapolis Colts. They already got Dylan Steinman earlier in this class. Now I'm looking, I want another piece on the defense. Do I want it on the line or do I want it at linebacker? Let's look at Indianapolis here. Oh, God. Sure. Indianapolis linebacker core just gives me the heebie-jeebers. So let's see if there's a linebacker here that I really like. There are a couple. I'm going to go Jake Galday here from Cincinnati. I think he fits better in the defense that Indianapolis runs. I think he fits in the middle of that better than some of these other guys do. Really positive run defender. You're going to see a nice little run on linebackers here in the next probably 10 to 15 picks. Atlanta got Jeremy Bernard earlier at 48. Now we're at 79. I said that guys could not re-sign, that tight ends were just, or not tight ends, that players that have left have just left. So in this, I have to mentally say that we have lost Kyle Pitts. So I'm going to go Michael Trigg, tight end out of Baylor, big kid. He was a 5-star, just never quite paid it off. The drop rate was high. He can't block for shit, but he is another weapon. And so that whoever the quarterback is, that gives me two weapons, two more bullets in the gun for Kevin Stefanski. I also really love, and I'm not going to lie, I said this at some point in the process, wherever Stefanski went, Michael Trigg was probably going to follow because I see him playing that David Njoku role. Baltimore Ravens have gone Keldrick Falk, Chris Brazil. That's a really good start for me. I want to go somebody on the interior here. The question is just which one. And my God, there's so many of them. There's no position that PFF and I disagree more than offensive line. There are about three names I'm considering here. Isaiah World is one of them. J.C. Davis is another one. I'm going to take the one that I like the best because it's shocking how often Baltimore and I are in lockstep with each other. I'm going to go Keelan Rutledge, guard out of Georgia Tech. This kid's just got a mean streak from hell. You saw it at the Senior Bowl. I really like him. He kind of fits what Baltimore wants to do. Oh, Tank just there's Tank. Hi, Tank. Let's see. we are to pick number 81. Brother, I am trying to get done with this so that they can listen to you on the Radio Box in 29 minutes. I went a little over. My bad. 81, we are Jacksonville Jaguars. They took Genesis Smith at 56. This is another team that I'm looking for somebody on the offensive line, and this is one of my dirty little secrets. And I'm hoping I didn't say his name so many times at the Senior Bowl that everybody else is going to get on him. It's Armaj Reed Adams, kid out of Texas Tech. The grades are not great. They're not great. But if you watch his hands, you watch his feet, there is a lot there for Armaj Reed Adams. I like him a lot for Jacksonville there the middle of round 3. Minnesota Vikings have gone Jordan Tyson, Nicholas Singleton. I'm going to look for a corner here. The question is, do I want one on the outside or do I want one that's going to play in the slot? This is where I have to go a little off the board because I'm going to have Byron Murphy playing in the slot. I need another outside corner to put on the other side of Rodgers because Akuda was an absolute nightmare in what little bit that he played. So I want an outside guy. The question is which one. I will go Ephesians Prysock, the corner out of Washington. One half of the Religious Brothers. He and Hezekiah Masses. He is not going to be that low. Big kid. 6'4", 195 pounds. Just an absolute dog. And I really like him in that Minnesota defense. You're going to see a good number of corners go here in the next handful of picks as well. Carolina Panthers have gone Caleb Banks, Jacob Rodriguez. This is another team that needs a corner. It's just a question of which one. Because now we're getting into scheme specifics. We're getting into you want a guy in the slot. Where is it that you need the player? And for me, I think they were pretty good on the outside. Because shockingly enough, Mike Jackson held up quite well last year. J.C. Horn, he wasn't great, but he was fine. Shal Smith-Wade was not great to me. So I'm going to look to probably reapportion him somewhere. I'm going to go D'Angelo Pons, cornerback out of Indiana. Grades are really, really good. He is slot specific. He is a little small. Him and Chandler Rivers they're two of the best slot corners in this class. And Alex said Julian Neal. I wouldn't hate Julian Neal. Wouldn't hate him at all. I just don't know where he played. Right now, I'm trying to get guys that can play right away and in the long term. D'Angelo Pons has a really nice high upside playing out of the slot. And I love Neal. I don't know that the league is going to be as high on him. I think he's more towards the end of this round, beginning of the next, before we start really talking about him. Green Bay Packers took Chris Johnson at pick 52, and this really solidifies they are the team with no first-round pick that just crushes it in a Jeremy draft because they go Caleb Tiernan, offensive tackle from Northwestern. He's in my top 60. So basically, Green Bay got a first-round pick and a second-round pick with only a second-round pick and a third-round pick, which is really solid. Pittsburgh Steelers have gone Denzel Boston, Keith Abney, LT Overton. They have Will Howard. I'm in my head, that's the one that they think is going to take over at some point. I feel like they need a little depth on that offensive line. It's just a question of which one are they going to take. I absolutely loved this kid at Shrine. It's Emil Wagner. 6'6", 300 pounds, great feet. And he was just mauling dudes at Shrine. I think he's played his way into the second day. I think he's played his way ahead of Isaiah World. Los Angeles Chargers have gone Vega Ione, Darrell Jackson. I'm not sure that they don't double down. And take two interior offensive linemen. The question is there one that they think can play center with Ione playing guard. For me, that means they either have to go Sam Hecht from Kansas State, Pat Coogan from Indiana, or Jagger Burton. I love all three of them. The question is, which one would you take at 86 and feel good about it? I think the NFL is going to have Sam Hecht higher, then Coogan, then Jagger Burton. Hunter from Kentucky. I'm not sure who that is. Sam Hecht right here, center from Kansas State, going to the Los Angeles Chargers. Miami Dolphins have gone Mansour Delane, Akeem Mesidor, Skylar Bell. They have 2 picks here in very short order. Excuse me. I feel like they're going to take a stab at a quarterback. I just don't know who it is. For me, none of them are worth it. They're going to bring in competition for Quinn Ewers one way or the other. The question is, do they go on arm talent or do they go on veteran? And I feel like Ewers is the veteran. So here I'll go Drew Aller, quarterback out of Penn State. Prototypical build. He absolutely looks like a quarterback built out of granite. The problem is he's got about a 10-cent brain. And he's very safe. He does not want to take any form of risk. And those are problems. But in the right situation with enough time to develop, I think he can be a player in this league. I just don't know that anybody's going to give him the time that he needs. Jacksonville back up after they've taken a safety and a guard. I want to find something on the defensive line here. Let's go to Jacksonville. I believe they bring back Devin Lloyd. I know I'm not supposed to take those things into account, but I just do. I want somebody on the interior. There are a couple interior defensive linemen here that I like quite a bit. None of them more than Corleone. I like Durant. I like Xavier Harris. I love James Thompson Jr. But it's a little early for all of them. So I'm going to get a big hog molly here in the Godfather, Dante Corleone. The problem with Corleone is that he's so short that I'm not sure he's not forced to play 3-tech. He's huge, but he's so unbelievably short that I don't actually see him as the nose that everybody else does. Chicago Bears have had a great start with Avion Terrell and Romello Height. There are a handful of positions I could go here for Chicago. I think the one that I have thought they needed a linebacker for quite some time. Not because I don't like – it's because I don't like all of them, not because I don't like a couple of them. So I look at the linebackers here. One of my favorite players left on the board, Josiah Trotter, Jeremiah's boy. 6'2", 237 pounds. He's really, really raw, and he's going to have to start as a special teams guy, but if you put the time into him, that kid can become a player in this league. 90 back to the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to double up on secondary players here. The question is which one. A lot of people are higher on Kamari Ramsey than I am. I'm going to go Bud Clark. He had such an unbelievable week in Mobile that I think he's played his way into that end of day 2, very beginning of day 3. So we get Bud Clark right there at 90 to the Miami Dolphins. Buffalo Bills, everybody's been clamoring for a wide receiver. I'm going to give them one, and I'm going to give them one that is something they don't have. Zachariah Branch, wide receiver out of Georgia. This kid is legit. If Reggie Bush had played wide receiver, it's Zachariah Branch. The problem is, do you remember what happened to Reggie Bush when he got to the league? He's too damn small. Branch can absolutely friggin' fly. He's going to take the top off of defenses. I think he's going to be an elite return guy. And I love the fit in Buffalo. I think on a fast track, he will be out of this world. San Francisco, we're at number 92. They've already had Cassius Howell and Omar Cooper. Hold on a second. I have to respond to something in the chat. We got Cassius Howell. We got Omar Cooper. So I've hit the receiver. I've hit the edge. Now I got to get an offensive lineman. I really like this kid in terms of playing in that San Francisco scheme. It's Pat Coogan. I love Pat Coogan, but I only like him in very specific situations like Houston, San Francisco, any of those. I'm really, really fond of him in a situation like San Francisco. The Rams, sorry I'm going so fast here. I'm butted up against Tank Show starting here in 18 minutes, and I don't want to take anybody away from him and Chris because they work very hard, and I want to have a little time for questions and things like that at the end. The Rams have gone Fano, Hood, Nussmeier in their first 3 picks. I've hit tackle. I've hit quarterback. I've hit cornerback. Now I'm getting into I can take kind of a shot. And I'm going to go Kamari Ramsey from USC. Everybody else seems to see something in him that I don't see, but I do like him in that Rams defense. Somebody asked earlier if there would be a Cam Curl replacement. I think he could be. It's just going to take a year. So we go Kamari Ramsey here at 93. 94, the Denver Broncos. Caden McDonald, Eli Stowers were your first 2 picks. I really would like to get another running back solely because how badly I saw that team atrophy when J.K. Dobbins went down. And now at this point, I don't really trust him. The question is, do I attack that first or do I take somebody for the interior of that line? I think I can wait on running back because this running back class is not particularly good. And I'm running out of centers that I really believe in. So here I'll go. It's tough for me. Do I go the one I really like or the one that fits this scheme better? We'll go Parker Brailsford, center out of Alabama. I think he's safer. Burton's got a higher upside. But Brailsford is really safe as a nice depth piece. The New England Patriots have gone Emmanuel Pregnon, Jacoby Lane. We've got 1 pick left here. Oh, God, I have to. The Snap Judgment's asked, is Malachi Lawrence still on the board for New England? He is. And I'm not going to lie to you. He is on my board. He is within 10 picks of this. So I'm going to go Malachi Lawrence for Randy. It's a pain in the ass when you have to do this by yourself. Let's see. So now we've gotten to the Seattle Seahawks. We're almost to the comp picks. And yes, in these 3 rounds, I will take the opinion of fans because you know your team better than I do. I'll pace the player because I do know these players quite well. Seattle currently has the greatest A+++ ever with Emmanuel McNeil-Warren and Jake Slaughter. At this point, I think they could take Elmer Fudd, and I would just go, cool. That was fun. Okay. Sorry. I knew who this pick was before I did it. Julian Neal, cornerback out of Arkansas. Seattle, do this. Just don't ask any fucking questions. Just do this. Just take Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, then take Jake Slaughter, then take Julian Neal, and enjoy what comes rolling after. Let's see. 97, the Minnesota Vikings. Jordan Tyson. Calvin said, is Elmer playing fullback? He might. He's out there hunting. I about said putty tats. That's the wrong Looney Tune. Andreas Pinckney said, Christ, Jeremy, this is evil. Yeah. I'm telling you, I've low-key, I think in the back recesses of my brain somewhere, I've become a Seattle Seahawks fan. I don't really know how that happened, but I think it did. Minnesota Vikings have gone Jordan Tyson, Nicholas Singleton, Ephesians Prysock. And now I'm going to give them the center that, you know what? He's the last one left for me. So I'm going to go Jagger Burton, center out of Kentucky. I absolutely love that kid. He had a mean streak a country mile wide at the Senior Bowl. Philadelphia Eagles is a pick that Marina, I promise, will not like. I've gone Monroe Freeling, Dalen Everett, Sam Roush. Marina proceeded to tell me that Monroe Freeling wouldn't play. I said that twice. That's the reason that I took him. Dalen Everett is 100% better than Adoree Jackson. Adoree Jackson was a turnstile. And I lost all my faith in what you said when you said Sam Roush has bad hands. Because, no, he doesn't. Trust me, I watched it for 3 days. And you don't have to play any of these guys early. That's kind of the dirty little secret of Philadelphia. It's what they've done for the better part of 20 years. It's also why I've hit about 15 of their picks in the last 5. Because it ain't hard to figure out. You just take the best player on the board. It's exactly what they did. So now the question is, which guy is the best player on the board for them here? I haven't drafted an edge for Philadelphia yet. There are a handful that I really like. The one that I have to get him in this, Nadam Tucker, edge rusher out of Western Michigan. 6'3", 250, tore people to shreds at the Senior Bowl. Projects as a stand-up kind of hybrid. I looked at Mikhail Kamara. I see that in the chat from Calvin. I like Nadam Tucker better at this point. He was one of those guys that I was holding really close to the vest. Had 15, 16 sacks at Western Michigan this year. I wasn't going to say shit about him, and then he came to the Senior Bowl and went, just bust your ass for 3 days. So now I don't have the choice. I have to say it out loud, whether I want to or not. Pittsburgh Steelers have gone Denzel Boston, Keith Abney, LT Overton, Emil Wagner. And here we're going to take a running back, and it's the one that I low-key think has the ability to grow into a bell cow role. Jadarian Price, running back out of Notre Dame, 5'11", 210, got nice size. He can do a little bit of everything. I think he is going to be a decent player in this league. It's just going to take a year or two. Never had the full workload because obviously he was ceding work to Jeremiah Love. Jacksonville Jaguars with I believe this is the last pick. Yep, last pick in the 3-round mock. I made it just in the nick of time. They've gone Genesis Smith, Armaj Reed Adams, Dante Corleone. This is the class that no Jaguar fan will like, but low-key Jeremy's sitting here going, if you do that, you're absolutely killing this shit. Question is, where do you go from here? You've attacked every need that I feel like you really have. So now you can go a little bit of a best player available. It's more of a question of what position do you want to attack? I think one of the weaknesses that I currently see on the Jacksonville Jaguars roster is they're not really deep at tight end. So I'm good with Brenton Strange. I like Hunter Long. He's just kind of a one-trick pony in the NFL. So I'm going to take kind of a hybrid. Max Clare, offense or a tight end out of Ohio State. I think this kid made a really bad decision in terms of going to Ohio State. I think he'd have been better off to stay at Purdue. He just didn't fit the system at all. He just didn't fit the system at all. So Max Clare there at 100. Marina chimed in with Tucker's too slow to play edge. You've told me that about like 10 guys in the last 3 years. I've been right on like 8 of them. By the way, you have you said Fangio's guys have to be under 4.65. I'll bet you anything you want Nadam Tucker runs faster than 4.65. He may run faster than 4.55. I just watched him for 3 days. You know what's fun about these practices? I get to watch these guys run at full speed. It's pretty obvious when one of them is outrunning everybody in the group. They're probably faster than they think. Nadeem Tucker will be a really good player in this league. Now, you were right about Keely Ringo. He has been a total bust, and I told you he would be before he ever got drafted. I told you not to touch him. I hated Keely Ringo. And now, as for Roush with the drops, go back and watch the drops. Quarterback play at Stanford's been an absolute fucking disaster. A couple of those drops were what I would call medically necessary. He had one against Florida State that if he had caught it, we'd probably be visiting his grave right now. But it hit his hands, so it's still technically a drop. That's just one of those that as you watch the tape, you go, if you had a better quarterback, those drops probably go away. Marina, you said Nadeem Tucker's listed at 4.76. Who listed that? He probably hasn't run a 40 in 3 years. That's an approximation. I watched him right in front of me. He's faster than that. Now, he may not break 4.65. He might be 4.67. Those are infinitesimal numbers. No good evaluator is that locked in to 40 speed. All right, we have 7 minutes before Tank Show starts. Does anybody have a question in the chat that they want to get to? Fire them at me as quick as you can, but at 11:59, I'm hitting the end stream button. Workman says Tucker will run 4.53 to 4.59. I'm not going to lie to you. I wouldn't doubt that. I would not doubt that, dude. When it comes to speeds over the last 2 years since he and I have been doing this together, he is a freak of fucking nature at calling what a dude's going to run in the 40. Randy said, will you stop taking Wagner before the Pats' third-round pick? Apologies. I think he is really, really screaming up boards. So I don't know that he's going to get to that pick for New England. But I've also said you're going to have to trade to get to Denzel Boston, so who knows? You may not have that pick in the third round. You may move some around to try to get a Bill Wagner. Who knows? Gary Birch asked, was Ted Hurst the Commander's pick? Yes, sir, he was. I love the fit with him. I said that with Logan. And last year they had 5 picks. I hit 3 of them. Marina asked if Nadeem Tucker can drop into coverage. I can't answer that. Because I saw him for 3 days. So, I mean, I've seen him on the tape. I saw what he did at the Senior Bowl. I had absolutely no red flag that he could drop. He did it in a very limited amount at Western Michigan. I wasn't the coach at Western Michigan. So, a lot of times I have to look at what your raw intangibles say, not necessarily what the tape says. I think he can drop. I've been wrong before. I am not egotistical enough to say I've never been wrong. Here's what I can tell you about that guy. He is going to rush quarterbacks in the NFL. 1,000%. Andreas Pinckney, great mock, man. Love what you did for my Saints and hate what you did for everyone else in the division. That is the best sign that a mock's been really good. When you love your team and hate everything that the rest of your division's done because that's good too. Randy said, Fields has been my steal in mocks for a month. Never again. No, he ain't making that far. Gary said he's down with Ted Hurst. We got 4 minutes. We're going to run a 4-minute drill here. As many questions as we can get to. 2 hours, 49 minutes, and 50 seconds. That is how long I've been talking to myself. With one little break for a Sprite. Because I don't have any water in the house because they fucking hit a water line. Joshua Penix, do you think Blake Miller sneaks into the first round? I want Arizona to take him in the second. I don't think he'll sneak into the first round because he's so right tackle dependent, and there are better right tackles in front of him. So I don't think he'll sneak into the first, but I do think he goes somewhere in the second. Calvin, any chance Banks or McDonald jumps Peter Woods and becomes the first defensive tackle taken? For the love of God, don't let Banks go to the Panthers. McDonald, no, there's no chance on him. Banks, maybe. I mean, somebody might have fallen in love, Banks was very beauties in the eye of the beholder because some people didn't like what they saw out of him. I don't get that, but I could see a possibility that Banks gets out there. Putting in work with Bill Workman said, how long before we hear Torrey and York's name? It's funny you said that. He's the number one player left on my board after this. After these 100 picks, he's the highest rated player on the board, so it would not be long at all. Marina, the Eagles need a safety too to replace Blankenship. I agree. They never fell in a spot where I saw a safety that really made sense. They could have taken Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. I don't really believe he's going to go that high. I said this last year with Eamon Worry. You get these big safeties that are freak fast, and then people just start to nitpick everything they do as we get through the process. So they're high now, and I think he'll go back into 1, beginning of 2. Just would have been a little high for Philadelphia. But I agree with you. You do need a safety. Just one. I'm not going to reach to a crazy level off my board in a mock this early. Marina, I do appreciate all of your questions. I know it seems like I'm being combative. I'm not. This is what I love about this is that, hell, there are people that I've done this with for 15 years. We don't see shit the same. And we can go back and forth. You say things that I haven't seen, and you may see things that I haven't seen. Marina also said, Theinman and Wheatley best fits. Wheatley's still on the board going into the 4th round. Dylan Theinman went early in round 2. I don't see any way Theinman goes any higher than what I had him. I didn't hear a ton of super, super positive about him while I was around the Senior Bowl. Glenn, possibility of the Commanders trading out of the top 10. I don't think you're having a ton of trades because I don't know who you're trading up for. Unless Reuben Bain falls and somebody falls in love with him, and in which case I think Washington would just take him. So possibility of it, I'll say 10%. Pinckney nailed it. It's all about what players is somebody going to trade up into the top 10 for. That's the problem in this draft. I don't know that there are a lot. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we have gone almost 3 hours on a 3-round mock draft. And now it is time for you to open up either your cellular device or your laptop. Go to the iHeartRadio app to listen to a Woo Woo Wednesday with Chris Womack. I appreciate all of you more than I could say. Sorry for the slightly late delay of starting this. YouTube wanted to verify me for some fucking reason, in spite of the fact I've been putting out content on this platform for 5 years. They decided to do that this morning, so I apologize. It's been a 3-round mock draft. Team-by-team videos start tomorrow, and I'm looking very forward to it. I'm going to do this different this year. I am scheduling live streams for every team. So instead of just doing a video, I will do a live stream where we talk about your team, and then I will do a video based on what you have said. I love this input. I love all of the things that people say. It gets me looking at shit that I've never looked at before. I'm way ahead of where I've ever been before. Thank you, Glenn F., for your super chat. I greatly appreciate that. And who knows? Maybe we'll do another one of these like tomorrow night. I think that sounds like a fun idea. Just sit here and talk about the NFL draft. We will have the full podcast schedule out at some point tomorrow. I've got one guy that I still have to figure out when he is available. Get to the iHeartRadio app. Get to ESPN Radio Asheville, around the radio, whatever the case may be. Listen to my guy, Tank Spencer, my guy, Chris Womack. They're talking all things football, all things sports, breaking it all down, and it is exclusively on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and ESPN Radio Asheville. I am at the NFL Draft Nerd, Jeremy Green, and for a few hours, we're signing off, and it's going to be a great time. Whew.